Hey, welcome to the Saturday or Tuesday afternoon streaming session where I'll be sanding. Now, I did a video on how I installed this canopy, and I just need to edit it up and put it together because I get a lot of questions on how to do a nice canopy install. Now it's all about the DC 540 situation, put it on and sand it off. Now, if you look at this, most guys would say, well, let's paint it. Looks great. Nuh-uh. You got to sand it all off. Otherwise, your airplane will weigh too much. So I put it on and sand it off until it's absolutely smooth. This should be the final day of sanding on my classic Nobler. Should be able to go to paint tomorrow, or maybe even later on tonight, depending. What I do with the primer is I just use it to fill the low imperfections. Now you'd say, well, that looks pretty good too. You can't leave that much primer on it. If you do, the airplane will weigh a million pounds. It's you have to get it off. So I have these flexible sanding blocks here. Get them. I deal through Sherwin-Williams, and I called them to see if they would be interested in sponsoring an ad. You can't get through the secretary, so they're useless. I wonder if people realize what kind of opportunities they're missing, because with the the endorsement I give on DC 540, I know sales have went up. Anyway, painting is sanding. It's not spraying. So and a lot of people, you can see here the wood color is starting to come up. That means we're going to stop there. I mean, I could sand it all the way down to the bare wood, but then you'd be defeating your purpose. You're only filling the lows with the primer. So I put it on and sand it off, put it on and sand it off. I don't know how many people say, well, how many times do you do it? I don't know. Whatever it takes. I think I've put too much work into a classic airplane that you don't get appearance points on. I think our club here is about one of the only local clubs in the country that gives appearance points. Everybody has opted out for the buy and fly situation. And that's, that's all well and good. Part of this hobby to me was the building, so that's kind of why I'm a big proponent of the builder of the model rule. If you have to build it, you have a vested interest in the hobby. If you have to buy it, you don't. You have a vested interest in buying things. I rewrote my ad for the Nats again. And I'm going to be doing a movie at the National this year. I'm writing a storyboard and Now that I got the sound booth, I'm going to do a professional quality voiceover. I even have a teleprompter now. Which costs nothing. You know, I always thought that getting a teleprompter would be expensive, but freeware programs on the net, on the web, I got a teleprompter, so it costs nothing. 0 is a good price. I guess control line guys are notoriously cheap. I didn't announce this this hangout anywhere, so if you join, fine. I probably should announce it at least in YouTube how to get on it, but I'll do that. In case you have any questions. Okay. All right, looks like we got a few viewers, which I hadn't really planned on. I normally do these sessions at night, but I figured seeing that I'm here in the shop sanding, I would just go ahead and open up a sanding hangout. So if you go on the YouTube page, you can find the link. And I would like to say you could only have one application open at a time of Hangouts. Otherwise, you get a massive amount of feedback, like we had last night. You want to sand this primer, like I say, down so you can see through it. And I try to get it even, but sometimes you can't. Like right there, I just went a little too far right on the edge. Need to see what this thing weighs here, see how much weight I'm picking up. Because I really only have about 4 ounces to keep it under 40 ounces. And I'm still within range. It's 24 ounces. But at this stage of the game, if you don't pay attention and let it slip, it can slip away from you so fast it's ridiculous. Do I want a really nice looking model? It will load on the primer. And you load on the primer and pretty soon You're at 40 ounces with no engine. You do that, you wasted all your time. Now, this airplane here only took 2 weeks to build, but you know, that's, I'd like my effort to be not in vain. 2 weeks to build, 2 weeks to finish, I would imagine. And finished with a decent paint job. My 11-day Aries was start to finish with, it was a scratch built Aries. 11 days, including the finish. So that was really smoking along. I just don't have that much drive anymore. Somebody just come on. Well, somebody just went off. Whatever. I will be later on this afternoon posting up what I have, how to install this canopy on the Nobler. I recessed the top sheeting and recessed around here and sunk it in. You get one chance, as I've told many people. It's not looking too bad. It's light here, but I'm not going to add more primer. We're at 24 ounces now. $24 plus 9 ounces of hardware. 24, 33. I mean, I got a few ounces of paint to play with yet, but paint adds up real quick too. So this is going to be, I'll give you the rundown of what I've come up with in my mind, how to paint this paint job. I'm going to paint this panel white, the bottom white, but not the whole wing, just the center section. I'm going to paint the center white here. Then I'm going to backmask that white. And I'm thinking about painting the top red with blue checkerboards on the bottom with, you know, some stripes, blue stripes up here. So it'll be red, white, and blue. But in a goofy pattern. It's not going to be your standard stars and bars configuration like I have on my Continental. Or I could change my mind and do it another way. I have another idea that I was kicking around. And I don't know. When people asked me last night, well, how do I come up with these paint jobs? I don't know. I just look at it and go, well, this is what I want to do, and start doing it. I don't draw them out, because the canvas is really the airplane. Now here we have a little spot. It's so minuscule, you know, most would not even worry about it, but I use this aqua green spot putty, and I'm going to show you what I do with that. It's this spot here is the size of a pinhead, basically. The spot here is the size of a, you got the echo going again, basically.
I gotta It does it every time, Sparky. I don't know what the problem is. There's something causing that. I don't understand it.
You got the echo going again.
Yeah, I'm going to try to eliminate that in a minute. It does it every time, Sparky. I don't know what the problem is. There's something causing that. I don't understand it.
Going again.
Yeah, I'm going to try to. Okay, how's that? It does it every time, Sparky. I don't know what the problem is causing that. I don't understand it. Okay, how's that? It does it every time.
Back, looping.
Okay, how's that?
Use push to talk. Turn your mic off when you don't want to talk, and then when you want to talk, turn the mic on. There we go. Okay, Aqua Green Spot Putty 05096. It's made by 3M. This is the putty that I use for the very small. I'll have to edit that out. For the very small dents, as I see them, I start patching them, because as I'm working on somewhere else, this is drying. So I take a razor blade and fill those little spots. Don't want to use too much of this stuff. This tube right here. I mean, if you put all this all over your airplane, now you'd have a good looking airplane. But this tube right here weighs 14.1 ounces. So you'd ruin your airplane with this stuff in a heartbeat. So these little spots like this, and when we come back to it, I'll show you what I do there, because it's all gone except for that little tiny dot. The same with these lows and these flaps here. These little spots like this, and when we come back to it, I'll show you what I do there, because it's all gone except for that little tiny dot. The same with these lows and these flaps here. Your microphone is looping. Little spots like this, and when we come back to it, I'll show you what I do there. I'm sorry. Just the way it is. eBay or YouTube is strange. Anyway, use a block and sand out these clips. It takes about 3 or 4 sand outs on these clips where you go from hardwood to balsa wood. And you say, well, it looks pretty good. Well, it looks good until you put some more primer on it. And then you'll prime it again, and it'll look a little better and a little better. I don't know how many sand outs this takes. It takes whatever it takes. So here we go. We got the first sand out done on that clip there. And as this is drying, I put on a little DC 540 on that clip, and you want to put this on kind of dry. You don't want to load it up because it'll pool. And I can see it's going to take another sand out. When you can look at the primer and you can see, it's hard to explain. You can't really see the clip. It just kind of has a valley where the clip attaches. So the object of the game here is not to keep loading primer on it, but we need enough primer to fill that low. Okay, the primer's on this now, and you can still see the 2 sides of the clip. I'll wait for this to dry. sand it all off. Then I'll take some of that aqua green and spread the green over those two valleys. Wait for that to dry and sand it all off and then prime it again. And that should pretty much cover all the sanding needed to be done to bury that clip. Because those are the type of things, especially when I'm doing appearance judging or whatever, that I'm looking for. Did the guy take the time to bury those little problems? There's certain places of detail that I look for when I'm doing appearance judging, and I'll point them out here. And do I get them perfect every time? No, it's hard to do. Around the canopy, how was the finish done around the canopy, which we're doing today? How are the fillets sanded and blended in? If I can see any sand marks or that particular transition should look like one piece. It should go from the wing to the fuselage without seeing a line. Right here you can see a little dot. I mean, this is really critical nitpicking stuff. But right here there's a little dot, and I'll sand on that and fill that until I get it perfect. Right here there's a little dot looping, and I'll sand on that and fill. There you go. Mute the microphone until you want to talk. I think there's a feature on there you can use push to talk where you want to talk.
Yeah, there is, but I can't figure it out. I've got, yeah, I got one of Logitech.
On there you can use push to talk where you want to talk.
Yeah, there is, but I can't figure it out. I got,
I'm about ready to give up with it, Sparky.
Reboot.
I did. I just now did.
Yeah, there is, but I can't.
I'll try it again. I'll shut the whole computer off. I'll shut off the computer and reboot it.
Reboot. All right.
I did. I just now did. Yeah, there is, but I can't.
I'm sorry, I just can't think and keep talking when I hear myself say the same thing over and over again 10,000 times, because that's all it was doing is looping over and over and over again. So hopefully he can get it fixed. Anyway, we're back on that area that I'm talking about where I can see a line. If I can see a line, that's a point off. Right up here in the leading edge, where the leading and trailing edges meet the fuselage. If it's not a continuous smooth fillet all the way around, that's that's part of the consideration I give for deducting points. Now there was I think Keith Trossel wrote a guide on appearance judging or appearance points. Now, I never read it. I just know how I do it, what I'm looking for. Because this is all part of craftsmanship. And there are some excellent builders. And you can monkey with this stuff and never finish an airplane, because you're never going to get it perfect. Okay, I was talking about this area here. See, this area here. If you can see, there's kind of two shadows there where that clip is. So we'll sand that off again and see if it goes away. Now, if I can get away without, yeah, I got away without putting any of the green putty on. Those marks disappeared on that sand out. So I don't have to use any of the green putty. And the least amount of green putty you can use, the better off you are. So we sanded that off, and those 2 marks went away. Of course, I have a mark right there. And some of that will hide in the paint, but you don't want to rely on hiding in the paint. Because what happens is you get overzealous with the paint, and you start loading the paint down to hide those marks that should have been taken care of in this stage of the game. My dad and I were talking yesterday about finish, and my dad was a good finisher. He hand rubbed lacquer on his speed planes, and over the years, what I've learned, when I was a kid, I didn't know this. What I've learned is if you do each step where each piece of wood fits, and you don't have to add putty or sand or whatever, each step of the way fits. When you get to this stage, the finishing goes a lot quicker because there aren't any mistakes. I don't have to rebuild the airplane at the end of the job to straighten out the finish. And a lot of times you can't rebuild the airplane good enough to straighten out the finish, so you get what you get. So that's basically my thoughts on some of this stuff. I know that there are some good finishers out there. You know, Paul Walker does a good job. Kaz Minato does a good job. Brett Buck does a good job. Except Brett uses epoxy, and epoxy is kind of thick, and you can hide a lot of stuff with epoxy. So if you like epoxy, that's the way to go. Any of the urethanes, they really are, you know, a good product, and they're superior to dope, but the quality that I don't like about them is what you spray there stays there. None of it gases off because it's plastic. So at least with dope, you know that you're going to lose 5% or 10% of the weight. I'd like to get a real grip on what percentage of the weight you lose. So that side's pretty close to being ready to paint. And one thing that I'll do is after I think I've got it ready to paint, I'll go and sand it again, because it's never really ready to paint. At least not with lacquers or dope. There was a question on what I thin my product with. I only use Randolph dope. I only use butyrate dope. I don't use nitrate, which is a non-tautening. I guess it's more of a glue than butyrate. But the butyrate is always shrinking. So there again, you better make sure that you got all your joints tight. I've been sanding now since around 9 o'clock this morning. My hands are starting to tingle again. People say, well, we'll use some gloves. Yeah, gloves are wonderful. First off, I can't feel exactly what I want to feel. Second off, your hands sweat so bad, it's ridiculous. So I guess I'll just get the carcinogens or whatever it is embedded into my skin and die a year or two early, or whatever. Carcinogens. whatever it is. Feedback.
Die a year too early.
You know, I turn off your mic and listen to me for a second.
Okay.
Turn your mic off and listen to me. Feedback.
That's what it does.
You know, okay, I've muted you so I can think instead of looping. Okay, what you need to do is go into settings in your control panel on the computer, not on YouTube, and set that microphone as default, because what you're doing is you got two microphones open somehow. So I'll bet that it's right now on the in the control panel for sounds, it's set to default, and you're using whatever microphone you're using in YouTube, and it's pulling the microphone off the computer or the laptop or whatever you're using there, plus it's picking up the microphone you're using. So in your settings, they have to match. So make sure they match and you don't have two different settings. Try that. Well, I didn't mean to bump him, but I can't think with it looping like that. Anyway, back to the sanding part. Lost my train of thought. This is the paint job right here, not the painting itself. I can tell you that much. I've done these. I've done these the old way, where the trailing edge of the stabilizer is rounded, the leading edge of the elevator is rounded. When I was younger, or when I used to build other type models, I always had the trailing edge of the elevator square and the leading edge of the elevator tapered into a triangle. That seemed to work all right. But you know, since I went back to went to my blade hinges, my plate hinges, I've noticed that the ways of the 1950s still work and probably work better. So I went back to old school on this. We'll see how it works. Everything's an experiment, I guess. I like the experiment just to see, have we really come any farther from old technology? I think Billy said on the Man in His Museum that he didn't think so. Only in power plants. And I probably would agree with him. I do think that while electric is a valid way to go, I really think they jumped the gun on saying that electric will be the only thing in the future. I don't see that. I tried it. I gave it a decent try. You know, spent a lot of money trying it. It's got some good points and some bad points. I think it'd be kind of interesting to take a PA-75 with a 15.4 propeller, and an electric motor, and another airplane, a Plattenberg or whatever, a 32 motors, whatever battery. Hook them tail to tail and see which one pulls better. I think that would be a real interesting experiment. I think electric guys would be surprised. Of course, it could be wrong. Nice thing about electric, it has power instantaneously. There's no build-up, no wind-up, no... When you turn the juice on, it's all there or nothing. With a fuel motor or internal combustion engine, it's variable on attitude and fuel, and there's a lot of variables. So electric has that over gas. Yeah, we're gonna have we have a problem there, so we're gonna have to put some putty there. No, that's good enough for now. I'm hoping today's the last day of sanding. I'm pretty burnt out on sanding today, but I will stick to it until I get this whole sanding process done. If I gotta stand here 20 hours, I'll finish it up today somehow. So now let's go back to the little spot of that 3M stuff I painted here. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah. So I take and sand it. Now we feathered it in right now and you can't feel it, but you don't want that all there. So keep sanding till it's gone. Now the only thing that's filling is that head of the pin. And that's about as light as you're going to get on that. Now, if you look here, I have some of that 3M filler here and here. And I see a spot here that'll bother me. Use your hands. Your eyes can see, but your hands can feel better. If you can feel anything, it ain't ready. Yep. I'm hoping that you can see down in here what I'm doing. Let me wipe the lens of this camera off. It's got kind of dusty on it. I'm hoping that you can see down in here what I'm doing. Feedback. Yeah. This camera. It's got kind of dusty on it.
I reset everything. I don't know. I've tried everything I can try. I don't know what's wrong. Went into settings. I've done it all. So.
Get a headset. Feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna have to mute
I reset everything. I've tried everything I can try. I don't know what's wrong. Went into settings. I've done it all.
Get a headset. Yeah, that looping. All you have to do is mute the mic or push to talk. I don't know, but I can't. If I have to go in and edit the whole movie, that kind of ruins the whole idea of why I'm live streaming instead of running a movie. I hope you get it fixed. Maybe search online for why does it loop. I'll do that. I'll do that for you. Let me look here. Go. Okay. Can you hear me? Barely. Settings. All right. We'll try this and see if I can. We'll see if I can find you a solution. Oh, let's go on YouTube and look. Search Mike in Hangout. Will it loop? There's a lot of. How do I stop? How to stop? How to XDLP? I don't want to hear myself. I'm going to turn the mic monitoring off in FL Studio. Audio not working with Hangouts in Chrome. Let's look at this one. Stop. All right. Here is the link. I'll place it in the chat box of the Hangout here. Chat. Watch that. See if that'll help you. I'll place it in the my channel. Video manager. Let's see here. Afternoon sanding. All right. If your mic is looping, here is a YouTube video that might help. We'll try that. So go ahead and watch that. I'm going to switch back to the other camera. Okay, I've added a link in the chat, and I added a link on the YouTube page of how to maybe fix your mic from looping. If you go on YouTube and search how to fix your mic from looping, there's probably 2,000 videos of how to stop it. So anything you want can be found. All you got to do is, look for it. And I think them guys, what you need in your house is a 12-year-old. Any 12-year-old can fix the issue, guaranteed. I don't know why we older guys can't figure some of this stuff out. That looks pretty good. I will probably go back in and edit this up to be part of my movie and my canopy install movie. This is a no-no, but I'm doing it anyway. You always have a block in your hand and not open hand standing. But I have to go back to this again. Oh, Got a little rock there. If you hear a rock, you better stop or you'll dig yourself some grooves you can't believe. Now I feel a bump there, but there's not going to be much I can do about that because that's in the sheeting. And we're not going to worry about it. It's on the bottom. Yeah. It wouldn't pass the mustard for a black car, that's for sure. There's a bump right there. Well, let's put some primer on it, see what it looks like. I'm sure it's going to look bad. No, not too bad. So we'll just let it go. Like I say, you could drive yourself absolutely crazy trying to get things perfect. But at what point do you say, well, hey, it's only a model airplane? Got it on kind of thick there, so we'll stop and let it dry, sand it off. Got a spot there, I see. One or two more sand outs and it should be okay. This area here, I don't know what happened here. It looks like the xylene and the primer attacked the paint, but that's all right. That's the nice thing about the DC540. It attacked the paint or the dope and went down and probably will bond into the wood, but we'll sand that until that's all off and then hit it again, and I'll keep doing that until it's perfect. Or maybe not perfect, acceptable. So when I get this to where I think that I'm gonna be satisfied, the job is to sand it all off. But we won't use 320, we'll use 400. I'm not sure that you have to sand any lower than 320 or 400. It all gets kind of caught up in the clear when you do the clear.
Oh, shit.
Somebody's all shitting. Who's that?
Are we all right now?
Yep. What was the problem?
Well, I muted the sound on the YouTube channel. Just muted the audio completely, and that stopped it.
I told you that.
Well, see, I've never had this trouble before. I talk on Skype all the time, Sparky.
Yeah, but YouTube is not Skype.
Yeah, and that's, and I didn't want to mess some settings up in that because I use that quite a bit, and now I know what to do.
All right, yeah, you can't have two operations running. You can only have one.
Got you. I understand you, bud. I got you. So, how's everything in St. Louis today?
Weather looks pretty nice. Haven't been outside. I've been sanding.
Yeah, the sun's out here. We've got about 62 degrees in Terre Haute, so it's not bad. I think the front just exited our area here, so got colder, a little cooler air moving in the next couple of days. So
Yeah, by the time I'm ready to head back to work, the snow will be on the ground or some stupid crap.
yeah, there you go. I was going to ask you something I did the other day, and I haven't heard anybody say it, but how did you get the nick? Is that your nickname, Sparky? Is that what they everybody calls you, or what's your real first name?
Bob, aren't you
Bob?
on the forum?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm easy to find. My real name's right there on the forum.
Okay. All right. Like I said, I need a 12-year-old here to run the computer. You're probably right.
It is. I know it's right.
Yeah, I know it.
I'll tell you what, and this is no kidding. When I got a problem, I go to YouTube and I go, how do I fix the washer? How do I fix something on my computer or whatever? The guys on how to fix the washer are 40 years old and up. The people that know how to fix the computer are 12 years and under. And just what? Their voices are shrill. They don't make sense. But just listen to what they say because it works.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So, well, anyway, I'm glad I got that working. I knew there was something, and I figured that had to have been the only other thing I hadn't tried. So, and it was right in front of me, all along. So, you just can't have two sources of audio open and have the audio on, have the mic open at the same time. It ain't gonna work.
I told you that yesterday.
I know, but it didn't sink in. When you get to be, like my age, and you're getting close to me. Your mind don't think as sharp as it used to.
Yeah, my mind may not think as sharp as it used to, but when something doesn't work, I just have laser focus to figure out why.
I know. Yeah. Airplane's looking good.
I think today's going to be the last day of sanding, and just because I'm tired of doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could sand and prime for another week, but I'd still have a classic airplane that won't be judged for appearance. So I'll make it presentable. It'll be a 17, 18 point airplane, but.
Have you ever used hobby epoxy to spray paint with?
I do not.
Yeah. It's a little heavier, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All epoxies and all urethanes and all enamels are of the same ilk. Whatever you spray there stays there. Dope, on the other hand, the way that it's designed is like a lacquer, and the vehicle, which is the thinner, evaporates from the process. So I like to lose some weight.
Right. Have you heard of what Imron is? You paint cars with. You know what Aluminagrip is, right?
I know what all that shit is, yeah.
Right. My dad painted his '67 Carmen Ghia with Imron, and boy, it gave a nice finish. Well, they had done the nose of the turboprop plane with the Imron because it's pretty well chip resistant. You get those 3-bladed props turning up there on each side, and they throw up some rocks off the ramp, and it's real chip resistant. Of course, years back, the first product that come along was Aluminagrip, and I remember when they were painting airplanes with that stuff. And then, and I'm not sure if they're still using Aluminagrip or if they went to something else, but I know it was expensive paint. That stuff was like $70 a gallon back several years ago, but it was hard. It'd give you a finish, and it'd be chip resistant.
There's only one paint that's fuel proof against nitro. It's called Sunfire. They use it on Bonneville salt flat racers. 100% nitro you can pour on it and it won't melt at all.
Oh. What's that run a gallon?
Who knows?
I'll have to look that one up. Yeah. Yeah.
See, the question is, when I do something like that, it's not what does it cost a gallon, it's what does it weigh a gallon.
Mhm. Yeah. I did my first denture fix the other day for my wife. Her tooth popped out of her top denture, and I bought some stuff called Repair It, and it's a product, you know, that it's an acrylic polymer, and when you mix it up, it's a powder. You've probably seen it, used it, but boy, it gets hard. And that tooth went right back in there, come out clean. I put it back in there, and I said, she's had it in her about 3 days. She said, it's all right, it's staying in good.
I'm gonna make. I have dentures, and I saw how they're made. I mean, I was there. The guy who we made my teeth in the basement of my friend's house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they're Cadillacs, you know. They're fit for me. So instead of going, I have to go way out to Wentzville to get it done. I'm gonna just call Bill and have him send me the mold stuff, and I'm gonna make them myself. Because my original plate on the bottom was a partial plate, and since then the 4 teeth have fallen out. So now I need a new bottom. But I will probably do a video on how to make teeth, because it ain't very hard.
No, from what I watched some videos too when this all happens, you know, how they repair them and how they make them and all that. But boy, I'll tell you what, like she told me, I said she's had these, I don't know, 10 or 15 years she's had them, and back then it was over $2,000 for a set, just for that set of uppers that she's got. So it's expensive. And
let me tell you, they may be $2,000 for that set of uppers, but they're ripping you off, because Billy, the guy who made my teeth, who's actually the teeth maker for the dentist, only gets $300 per plate.
yeah, there's a big markup in it, I'm sure. You know, we were talking about the Nobler, the ARF version, and I think I've got a new catalog over here, the new tower, the main catalog for the year. It's laying over here, and I think that you can still buy that airplane. The ARF version of it. I think they've had it in the new catalog, and I was going to look while I was sitting here, get the book out and see if it's in there. It seemed like I saw it the other day, but I don't know where I put my book, but I'll look here.
I think John Brodak may sell them.
Yeah, I was up there on his site, you know, and I looked at some of the stuff that he's got, and they got a lot of stuff up there.
Wait till you get to the factory. You ever been to the factory?
No, but it looks like it'd be a lot of fun to go to and see, you know. Let me see here if it's in this book. Because, you know, you go into these RC books and these, like Tower Hobby, I know you've heard of them, but, and then Horizon Hobbies that I deal with. But in there, every now and then you'll see a 1 or 2 control line models. You'll see them in there. So I don't know if there's one in here or not.
John's got a museum, and it should be open next year. You know, I'm thinking about donating my shoestring to his museum.
Right. Hey, I wanted to ask you. Let me shut this phone off. Her phone ringing. Hello? Yeah, I think your mom's in the other room. Just a minute, Sparky. I'll be back. Jerry? Margie wants to do this. I had to take her the phone. I sent you a private message. Did you got my phone number? You come through here, you give me a call?
No, I didn't get a private. Where'd you send it?
Well, I sent it to the message thing on the YouTube channel. That's where I sent it, up there in the corner. I didn't have your email.
Go to Stunt Hanger and send it. When did you send it?
I don't know. It's been 3 or 4 days ago.
I haven't got it. So go to Stunt Hanger and send it.
I put it in the message thing up there at the top, and that you send like a private message to on YouTube. So
I haven't got it. So go to Stunt Hanger.
all right. Or I can just give it to you. Don't make any difference. I don't know.
A friend of mine, let me explain something to you. A friend of mine, Don Shipley, you can find him at Bud's 131.
Mm-hmm.
His friend, Makowitz, who was the narrator or host of Future Weapons on the Discovery Channel,
Right.
he died of brain cancer last month. Well, I sent Don a message. I said, my condolences for your friend dying, but it's hard for me to keep up. I'm sorry I'm a month behind with all the world events going on. I mean, it's hard for me to keep up with everything in the world, you know.
Right.
Got lots to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep, there's a lot to do. You're right. Let's see here. So, do you have a shop where you work on engines, or I mean, with your full-time job, what do you do? I mean, on the motorcycle engines, you go to some specific place where you work on them, or where do you travel around, or what?
I'm no longer in the motorcycle business.
Well, you're not. Okay.
I'm a mechanical carpenter now
Oh, okay.
for wheelchairs.
Oh, for wheelchairs. All right.
Yeah.
So you service wheelchairs.
I make lifts, buses,
Mm-hmm.
put in lifts for handicapped people.
Okay. All right. My wife's son-in-law out in San Diego, he worked for a company that made those lifts that are in the house. You know, he was a sales rep for them. The ones that go up the railing, you know, and they were a company out of Finland, I think she said. He used to have to fly over there. Was it Finland or one of the foreign countries? But I know what you're talking about.
You know, the van will pull up, the door will open up automatically, the lift comes out, they roll the wheelchair on it.
Yep.
Lifts them into the
Yep.
the van. Then they got a transfer seat and hand controls. It's making vehicles handicap accessible.
Mm-hmm. See a lot of those parked around hospitals.
Yeah, it's out of my wheelhouse of expertise, but it's the same. It's, you know, like, it's all nuts and bolts. When I first started there, the guy I worked for is a member of the forum, and I built him several airplanes. And he didn't know, you know, it was after Brodax last year. I was supposed to go to Don's house, Shipley's house, but it was the opposite direction, and I had to be at the Nationals, you know, a few days earlier or whatever. So I just went, I said, Jerry, he said, well, come on down and work for me. So I went to work for him, and the first thing he did was hand me a saw and said, cut a hole in this $80,000 van body for an automatic door. So there was a lot of trust going on, because I had never done that before, but it's all the same. It's all nuts and bolts.
Right.
Having confidence in yourself to
Right.
But the biggest thing is, you know, you said you admire people who take pride in their work.
Oh yeah, always have. Yeah.
When I'm done with a project in the handicapped area or the motorcycle area, if I modify something, it looks like it came from the factory. I cannot stand something that looks like a hillbilly did it.
No, I can't either. Yeah. I think a guy gets a certain amount of pride in his work. I mean, that's what's wrong with this country. You know, that's what this country's lacked. I mean, that's why the Germans come over here, and all your you know, some of your expensive cars you see coming here, they're all handcrafted, you know, and handmade. And you see the quality of workmanship versus what the American stuff is. This country needs that back, needs to come back to it. So we start producing quality product.
We don't make anything.
We don't make anything, right? But hopefully things are going to take a turnaround. I saw the other day, did you see where Samsung's coming back to the United States? That one of the big manufacturers of electronic stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Motorola come back.
Well, yeah, I would too. you know, I'm a ham operator. I play with the ham stuff. And
Good, you can help me with this. Hold on, let me get it.
what you got? Hope it ain't something to program. What you doing, sissy? Yeah, come on.
Okay, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What
What
I
you
got
got?
here is a Bofong walkie-talkie.
Yeah, Bofang. I call him Bofang. Yeah.
Whatever.
Are you having trouble programming it?
Programming's not a big deal. I can get it to scan and I can put a number in it. I'm not a ham operator, and I don't want to go
Right.
through school, and I don't want to get a license. I used to have a license from the FCC when the CVs came out. I still remember my number,
Yeah.
KU 9152. What I want to know is, how do you work the damn thing? I have to know some channel that I can hear on. So now that we scan and I hear somebody, how do I talk to them?
Well, first of all, if you get on the ham band, you're going to have a license for that. But
Forget the license. Pretend that I have a license. How do I talk to them?
well, you got to, you know, there's a difference between your simplex frequencies and then repeater frequencies that are used. Like I talk through repeaters around here. You go in on one frequency and you go out on another. And then also these repeaters they're encoded. You got to have a tone code programmed into it to open the repeater up. Now, if you're going to talk simplex to simplex, like one what is it? The one I listen to and talk on 150, 148. Wait a minute here.
Okay, stop.
146,520 is a simplex frequency. Okay, if you push 146,520 in there, that is a ham simplex frequency. That means it does not go through a repeater. If you was to hear somebody on there, you could talk to them. But you're supposed to have a license. You know, I mean, if you don't come on there and use that, and you know where I'm coming from.
What I want to know is real simple.
No, like,
listen, here I have an FM walkie-talkie or ham radio. Another guy
Right.
has one of these, and he's down the street. How do I talk to him on this thing?
well, if you got family radio service frequencies, you know, where they use those frequencies, and I don't know what the range on that one you got to have the right frequency to talk to him on. You got to both have to be on the same channel, on the same frequency, or you ain't going to talk back and forth. Is what I'm trying to say to you.
Okay, so if I program in 146,520,
Right, now that's a ham frequency, you remember. That's a simplex, what they call simplex. Okay, now, you hear somebody talking?
I've got the band on. My question is pretty simple. I got two guys. They both have Bofong radios.
Okay,
Can I talk to them if we're on the same frequency?
you should be able to, right? Yeah, you got to be on the same frequency though.
Okay, you don't have to talk on one and listen on the other?
No,
Okay. So if 10 guys get these and we all go to whatever,
right,
figure the frequency out, you know, 149.28 or whatever.
right.
We
I
all
think
get on it, we should be able to talk to each other, right?
look up here. Do this. Look up later when you're all done playing here. Go up there on the family radio services frequencies and find it. Huh?
Already been there. That's. I mean,
have you?
the question the question is, and I always get the same answer from you ham guys. Well, you got to have a license or whatever. Can I talk to somebody if we're both on the same numbers?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't have to have a number to talk and a number to listen, right?
No, just go to the frequency you want to use.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's all I needed.
But some of these handhelds they're using today, and I have to look up the model Bofang you got, and which I have you give me that one because I know Bofang makes several different models, and then I can kind of look at some things on that. But they use some kind of a toning thing in there, and I had a set of those, what do they call it, family radio service here, and I was trying to talk to my neighbor down here. Now it had a problem with with the radio. I later found out that's why we couldn't talk back and forth. But somebody said they've got a tone thing on them. You know that you hear that little beep. It's like a tone.
Yeah.
And it has to be locked to that, so the two units match up. Now, and I really didn't get a chance to play with it any further, but I think there was something wrong with her radio because it didn't want to work with. But
here's another question. This handheld radio, this Bofang radio, I have another radio over here.
All right.
Which is a 41 channel Midland. These two can't communicate back and forth, right?
The one's probably on the CB band, right?
Right.
All right. Now, the Bofang, I don't think it'll cover the CB band. I don't think your Bofang will. What is the number? Tell me what model Bofang you got and what you got in your hand. Tell me what it is.
Let's say.
It should somewhere on the radio.
UV5R.
UV5R.
5R.
Okay, I've heard of it. I'll look it up later. Okay. Yeah, I think they've got them now that'll put out 8 watts. I saw some of the newer ones now are 8 watts. But you know what? I paid for my ICOM. This is an ICOM that I've got. I paid $269 for that radio right there. That's a dual band. That covers 440 and 2 meters.
That's what this says too.
Right. But you know what? You can go out and buy a $35 Bofang now, you know, that will do everything this radio will do, you know, and give you 8 watts. Mine's a 5-watt handheld. So.
Well, help me through it. You got the radio in your hand. Let's just say that I don't think this is going to have enough distance to reach you.
Oh no, no.
How would I talk to you? What would I have to do?
You mean to talk to me directly?
Yeah.
You mean like if we're standing? Well, we need the same frequency. You'd have to go up and get the family radio service frequency. And
you can't
like I
just
said,
program something in.
Yeah, the frequency. See, let me tell you something. That radio should scan that frequency spectrum, the family radio service. You ought to be able, you get the frequency, it's probably got a scan feature on it where you can listen to all those frequencies. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to figure out
and
how to.
Then when you find the frequency they're talking on, you lock on it, and you should be able to talk to them. You see what I mean? Now, that radio too may have a high and a low switch on it. If you don't have it up on the high side and you're far away from somebody, they may not hear you. And that's why you might not be able to get back to them. See?
I'm trying to figure out how to get it to scan. I forgot.
Well, it'll do a scan. It'll do a search scan. I know this ICOM is hard to program. I mean, I've had my hands full. It's about like this mic thing. I couldn't figure it out, but
I'll have to go through these directions again on how to operate the damn thing. But
you got the book on it, don't you?
I've had it for a year or two, and because it's so frustrating, I just left it sitting on the desk, and nobody from the ham radio people will tell me how to operate it.
Well, do like you told me about this thing. Go on YouTube, type in that radio, and there's got to be probably 50 guys up there that are telling you how to do different things with it.
I did, and I can do some things, but they won't tell you how to talk on it.
How long have you had the Bofang? How long have you had that one around?
Over a year.
Oh, have you? Okay. Well, so you was into CB too, probably like me back in the day. I got in it back in the early '60s when I first got my first radio. But when I got out of it, at the end, I got a 100-foot tower in the backyard. I got a Wilson shooting star up there 100 feet, okay? I had a Yaesu 101E. I had a 101D receiver. I had the 2100 amp, essentially a ham station set up on the CB band. And at 100 feet with that beam, there wasn't anywhere in the world I couldn't talk. You know, I mean, I had people around here mad at me, going to cut my tower down, burn my house. You know, I had it all. I was opening garage doors up 2 blocks away. So back in them days, you know, it was all what you had, and if you could, if a guy started giving you a rough way, you talk over him, and the fight started. I got tired of all that and got out of CB. That's what got me out. I had a
Browning radio. They were only 19 channel at the time.
Yeah, I had a Browning Mark.
100-watt linear.
What kind?
I don't remember. That's been
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a beam. And I tell you what, when I tee up that linear, if you were playing electric guitar, the
Yeah, I
CC
know.
would come over the amp.
Hell, I'd open garage doors up 2 blocks away. My neighbor that lives over here 2 blocks away says, I got a phone call from him. He's the one who helped me put my tower up. And he said, hey, Tom, he says, you're opening my garage door up. He said, I'm hearing you on my phone and my garage door is going up and down. 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I had fun with it, and I got in trouble a little bit with it. I had a couple of FCC letters, you know, that came and said, you better, you know, you should watch what you're doing or we'll have to come in and check you and all that stuff.
Well, I got the FCC drone license, or the FAA drone license, and it's going to be just like the FCC license.
Yeah, I know.
Next year you won't need it because they figured that they can't enforce it.
Well, it's just a way of them finding you. Now, I haven't put one on I've got a unique Q500 4K drone is what I've got here. You've probably seen them and seen them fly. They got that big 4K camera out on the end of it. And I have not registered my drone. It's don't have any, I don't want somebody coming finding me. You know?
So you don't have an FAA license?
No, I haven't. I'm illegal.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Oh, the FBI will come get you.
well, one went down here, but we got a federal prison here in Terre Haute, you know, where they executed Timothy McVeigh. We got the Fed pen here, okay? Somebody was flying a drone. It went down on the other side of the fence over here, and they were right at that guy's front door, wanting to know what he was doing. And they tracked him back with the number. You know, they got the number off of it. Now, if he hadn't had a number, they wouldn't know where it came from. All it is, look, I've talked to some flight safety guys, you know, that are with the FAA, flight safety. Okay, all they do is they work lunch and they point out different issues that's been going on in the aviation, you know, near misses, all this stuff, and safety and flying and all that. And they give meetings, seminars, and all that. And you know, really, there hasn't been any. There's been a couple close calls with drones, but nothing that's been life-threatening. You know, they've sucked 1 or 2 in through some intakes on some of the big jet engines, but Jesus, like a little pea seed going through a mixer. You know, and it ain't something that's going to stop that big jet engine. You know, if you get a bunch of birds, a flock of birds.
It takes a pebble to take down the jet.
Right, you get a flock of birds like that guy did up on the Hudson. Yeah, it'll take it down, but just a drone suck it right through there like a meat grinder. You know, and that's it. But they have not had any incidents of anything that's been killed anybody yet. But you know, you get all these people that want to make rules, regulations, run your life. It's all, you know, the deal. The liberals want to run you and own you.
It ain't about gun control. It's about people control.
It's about people control. Absolutely. So, I don't know.
I think you ought to make it like the Old West. Let everybody carry a gun.
Well, that's the way it ought to be. You'd see crime drop too. You know. I hope they pass this national. We see a national carry. You know, Indiana now is proposing we have the Second Amendment where you don't need a permit to carry your gun. That you're, you know, if you got a driver's license and you're a citizen, never had an arrest record, you can get a gun.
Where in the Constitution does it say that? It says shall not be infringed. It doesn't say anything about driver's license, permits.
That's right. Yeah.
You need to run these characters out that won't abide by the Constitution as written. It's not a living document.
Right. And every day they're trying to change it to suit it so they can run it the way they want. You know, more control. Mm-hmm.
To what end? That's, you know.
Right.
Like these bankers, you know, they got to have more money, more and more and more. How much is enough?
That's right.
When you get it all, then what do you do?
Well, like I said, you know, the rich elitists that run the world, they've got all the money. What don't they have? They don't have complete control over you, and that's what they're after.
Once they get that, then what?
Well, they'll own us, I guess, and we'll be their slaves. I think that's what they like.
They already do own you. Your birth certificate is a pledge against the debt.
Yeah. I can only see it getting worse. I just hope maybe Trump changes things for us. You know, and I like.
You got your chipmunk voice on, Howard.
I'm going to let you talk to Howard for a minute. I got to go in the other room and do a thing with my animals in here. They're wanting lunch, so I'll be back. Okay, I'll leave my camera on. I don't want to mess up again here. So
Okay.
I'll be back in a few. I'll be back.
Okay.
Come on, guys, this week.
Well, let's see who's coming on here. Howard.
Is that better?
That's better, yeah.
I have to do it twice every time.
Yeah.
Yep. The first time I log on, for some reason, Google or YouTube caches what was happening. And then if I shut it down and go into Google Hangouts, it remembers what was there. The second time I bring it up, no problems at all.
I got the motor. I thank you very much.
Hopefully it'll be useful.
Al Rabe sent me the muffler for it, which is kind of cool. I got 2 canopies now for that. So that project's getting ready to get started here shortly, as soon as I finish up the other 100 projects I have.
Well, I've only got one. I'm building a T-Rex, which I wish I hadn't have started, because it was a Brodak ARF that I could not take the way it looked. I stripped everything off of it, and then I really got depressed. They used hot melt glue to glue all the stuff together. So I was wanting to do an SV22, and Randy didn't have a kit or enough parts to assemble for one. And then I was going to work Bill Rutherford and wanted he and I to build an Infinity together. I don't know what an Infinity is, but I figured it was better than what I had.
SV22.
Oh, okay. And Bill passed away, so that project got terminated. So then I went back and decided to finish this horrible T-Rex. And I changed the profile of it so it looks more like a Thunderbird or a Lark than a T-Rex. But you still, the structure underneath, there's nothing you can do with that unless you disassemble and reassemble. So anyway.
Well, why don't you get a set of plans for anything you'd like to build, and I'll help you scratch build something so you get exactly what you want.
Yep, that's what I got to figure out next. I'm going to go ahead and finish the I call it a Thunder Rex, simply because I'm too far along with it. I'm wet sanding the silver, and this time I'm going to use the Wendy Ertnowski method, and then next time I'm going to go to the DC 540 method, because I used it once and it works. I like it better because it's quicker. So
good luck on the Wendy method.
Yeah, well, it's a T-Rex, so even if I screw it up, it's not that big of a loss.
Anyway, figure out what you want to build, and I'll, give a set of plans, and I'll give you your assignments.
Okay. Well, I got to finish this guy, and then once he's finished, which should take about another month, I will jump into Project B.
Well, once you scratch build an airplane, you'll never go back to kits.
Yeah, this hasn't worked out well at all. I'm really disappointed.
I don't even like kits because I end up having to replace all the wood anyway, and I should have just started it myself. the kit is somebody else's idea on how to do things, and I don't know. I don't think I'm going to like that, but it's too late in the game now.
So you're doing a real stock Nobler wheel pants or wheel spats or landing gear spats and everything.
This is exactly as it was designed in the 50s.
Yep.
Airfoil, nothing's changed. I don't, maybe it wasn't the 50s. I think the green box Nobler came out in the 60s.
Well, I always liked the Nobler. I built the Nobler back in probably 65, a green box one, but I flew combat with it. So,
Well, the best thing about all the green box Noblers I built that way back when is I really didn't have it together on certain things like weight and balance.
yeah, I didn't either.
My Noblers were 50 ounces, and that's just too heavy for this little airplane. So this one here will be on a diet and be in the 40s.
Well, I think overall, I think the DC 540 is lighter than doing the Brodax silver method.
Oh yeah.
I've weighed all my parts, and I really haven't added that much weight. My original weight of the airplane was without the motor and the battery and the speed controller was 40. The parts were 40 something ounces, like 43 or 44. And now they weigh 46. So I've added somewhere between 2 and 3 ounces with the color ready to go on. So that's not too bad.
Add another 6 ounces for color.
Yep. So the airplane's going to come out 70 to 75 ounces.
Which is 10 ounces too heavy.
Yeah. Well, electric, unless you really are careful with your wood selection, electric is just much heavier than I think a motor and tank. I mean, a 5S battery, which is what I'm going to use in it, that's 13 ounces. That's what the battery weighs. And by the time you add the motor, the tank, the motor and the speed controller, you know, you're 21 ounces roughly.
The 5S batteries I use weigh 10 ounces.
What brand are you using?
Thunder Power.
Oh yeah, I don't want to pay $100+ for a battery though. I'm using Zippies, which are cheap.
Oh yeah, Zippies are cheap.
Yep. And their 6S batteries weigh 16, almost 17 ounces. They are heavy. But for my first foray into electric, Bill had given me that Crossfire, and I have been flying it. It weighs 77 ounces.
Wow.
Yeah, with a 5S battery in it. It's 80 ounces with a 6S.
Did you hear what we did to Bill?
What did you do to Bill? No, I didn't. Tell me
Okay.
the story.
Yeah, the nats that he flew that Crossfire at, he'd burn up a wait a minute. He wanted to charge a battery, and somebody else burnt one up. Same kind. So he said, would you watch this battery? I said, yeah, I'll watch it, no problem. So he went away, and one of the guys brought over this burn up battery. I mean, it was toast, you know, blown up. It was just terrible. So we took his battery off the charger, in its place, and it was the same battery. And he came back and he looked at it. The look on his face, it was priceless. Wow, we finally
That's a good story. I can't.
Gave him back his regular battery.
I talked with Sue, that was his girlfriend. She may have some videos of Bill, and she's going to look for me and see, but Nancy and Ryan have no desire to look through all that stuff. The only other person I know that had videos of Bill was Wendy. So I don't know if Wendy is still open to.
Nope, Wendy ain't doing nothing with airplanes.
Yeah, I heard he was doing motorcycles only. Which I like motorcycles. I love them. I had them when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too. I'm out of the motorcycle business though.
I would, if I didn't realize how mortal I am, I would still ride.
When Wendy hits the ground one time, that'll be the end of that.
Well, I've done that.
Me too.
Yeah, I had a big 18-wheeler pull out in front of me, and I had two choices: either become a ornamental decoration on the side of the trailer behind him, or try to go under it. Fortunately, I went under it and didn't get beat up too bad. But his response was he just didn't see me.
Well, they can't.
Yep. So
They're not looking for you.
and I've almost made the same mistake. I typically try to look for guys on motorcycles more than probably the average driver. But I have almost pulled out in front or pulled into the lane one was in. He happened to be in my blind spot. And Houston is not a good place. The city of Houston is not a good place to ride bikes.
Too many banditos.
Yeah, well, yeah, in the rural areas of Houston, of this area of Harris County, it would be a good place.
Well, I think I'm going to paint this today.
That's what's so good about DC 540. It dries extremely quick.
A little bit more, but I think we're going to be ready for paint today. And so, I can put some more clear on the Atlas. Reason why I'm working on this one now is that I have this Atlas I need to clear up, but I want to do all the painting all at once. I don't want to paint, you know, because it's a pain in the ass for me to set up this place to spray.
Yep.
Small jobs I can do okay, but when I'm, you know, clearing, and especially when I do the urethane on the nose, I got to make sure I got the ventilation going.
Do you build a paint stand to hold the airplane?
I didn't build it. CF Slattery built it, but I don't use it much anymore. I just use this foam piece to paint on.
Okay, so when you spray the top or the bottom and you need to flip it to the other side, how do you do that?
Well, how I paint these is I turn them upside down on the foam. I paint the wings, and I paint down the center of the fuselage where you can see it.
Right.
Then I just put my finger in the nose ring, my hand on top like that. Take it, turn it right side up.
On the gear. Okay.
Set it on its landing gear, paint the thing what you can see, and I'm done.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's you know, I'm sure there's better ways to do things, but that's just how I get, you know, I've been doing it like that for 40 years.
Well, simple is usually the best way. And, that's a pretty simple way to do it.
I have a paint stand, and it takes up a lot of room. It's a pain in the ass. You got to take the cowl off. You got to put the holder and put it on a nose ring. And
Oh yeah.
it's really good if you're going to ink around the fuselage, because then you got somebody to hold the airplane. You don't have to worry about them moving. You use a paint stand.
Right.
As far as painting the airplane, the way I just showed you has worked for me for 40 years. You know, put it on something upside down, paint the bottom. Immediately, I don't wait for it to dry or anything. I just take it, turn it over, set it on its landing gear, paint the thing, you're done.
Well, I would think it would be better not to wait for it to dry, because then it has time to bleed in or blend in with the, you know, the other paint. Before it's dry anyway.
You just make sure you do the bottom first, so you can set it on its gear.
Yep.
If you don't want to paint the landing gear, put a temporary set of landing gear in it.
Yeah. So where did you get the big piece of foam rubber?
Harley Davidson. That's out of a CVO, custom vehicle order paint set, where they ship the tank to us and it's embedded into the.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I got it. In other words, just be creative.
Yeah, if you look over here on my door, right here, let's see if you can see it.
Yeah, you put some
right here.
Yeah, the deadening stuff.
Right. All this is a mattress topper that I bought.
Yeah.
From Walmart, $40 for a king size mattress. This thing is 75 by 82, and I just cut it and put it on the door, and I got a big roll of foam over there to put in the car.
Yeah.
Be creative.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do with that extra foam is I'm going to cut it to the same size as my tabletop, and now when I'm finishing wings or covering or whatever, I can put that foam on the tabletop and not worry about denting the wing up.
Yeah, that's. I've been working some with that green or aqua green, acrylic green.
Right here.
Yeah, that works really well. I mean, it dries fast and it goes on thin and sticks.
Don't use much though.
Oh no, if it's a small dent and you just don't want to have to fill it up with filler, it works really good.
That tube weighs 14.1 ounces.
Yeah, it's almost a pound.
So if you spread that all over your airplane, you just ruined it.
No, I use it I had to use it on where the tail wheel glues in the back. They had a seam there that I needed to fill. So I probably got 3 grams of it on the whole airplane. Because it sands so well, either wet or dry.
As I was explaining before you came on, I'm trying to give people an idea on finishing. You know, I could sit here and dick with this for the next month. Still wouldn't be perfect. And, you know, who knows? It might, you know, I might pick up a couple of ounces or whatever, but all that work, and you're not going to get any more points for it. So I'm just going to make it presentable, clean, shoot the paint on it, and forget it.
That's what I want to do with this T-Rex.
This will be the equivalent of a 17 or 18 point airplane. We're not shooting for matter because they don't award points in classic anyway.
Well, I'm looking for 15 out of mine. If I can for my first big build, a 15-point airplane, I will feel good.
Well, you'll have somebody else to judge it this year.
It wouldn't matter. I mean, opinions are like belly buttons. Everyone has one, but that's only for the guy that's a 20 versus a 19. You know, there's no way to take personal opinion out of it. I mean, it's
There is no 20.
so if I can get a 15-point airplane, I'll be happy. I'll feel like I've done a good job. And my next one, I'll shoot for about 17. And that's probably the limit of my skill set right now, or my patience, both.
Is my audio on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Something unmuted my mic. It muted it. I don't know. Maybe it does it automatically when you're not using it, I guess.
No,
Hey, what I was going
something was the guy named Sparky because I didn't want to hear the background noise.
Oh, you're the guilty one. Okay. I was going to show Howard something. This is an article that Flying Magazine, if I can get it up here, the Flying Magazine did on my dad in the Twin Beach that he used to fly back in 1971. And it was titled Ancient but Honorable. It was a real nice article they did. They come in here and he's flying, and I'll show you another couple pictures. Dad was with this same airplane from when it was built at the factory in 1946. So he retired that airplane been with 5 different companies, and then they retired it in 1973. The only pilot to fly it all those years too.
That's pretty cool.
He won several awards with it. It was there in what's the big air show there in oh, I got the trophy in the other room. I was gonna
Oshkosh?
show you.
Are you thinking of Oshkosh?
Mm-hmm. I can tell you in a minute. My mind's slipping, but there was a picture of it when they were flying down over here. I live in Terre Haute, and it was down there on the south side of our area over the farm country. It was done with a back 182. They were shooting the video, and that was one of the pictures of the beach. But it was all polished out aluminum. You know, Dad, there was probably only one of these like this in the country back when he was flying it. So here's a picture of it, and he had an interior done down there in Fort Worth. They put an interior in this airplane, did the complete redo in it. But I learned to fly in that airplane.
That's that's quite an accomplishment. It's hard enough to learn in a 172.
Yeah, I see. I had very little single engine experience. You know, I've been up with my friends around here in 182s, RG. There's one of the flight schools here at Indiana State.
Yeah.
And I went up with a guy in that and in another one, but my flight experience in single engine is very, very low. But most of my flying was in that twin.
Yeah, same here with multi. I mean, the only reason I had it was just because it was something to do. I wasn't going to work for the airlines because of my age. And when I started flying, I was 50. So I've been flying 20 years now. But I just, you know, to start over again making $27,000 a year sitting in, you know, the right seat of a ERJ or something like that, just wasn't what I wanted.
Well, I mean, you're older now, and you know, I'd even thought about it, you know, getting back into it. But you know, when you get older, you know, the airlines retire them pilots pretty young age now. What is the retirement airline now? What is it?
It used to be 62. I think now it's 65.
Yeah.
So, and you know, and you can go to work for, you know, charter companies and stuff like that. Buddy of mine flew up till he was 73, and but, you know, the pay wasn't that great, and the hours were long. Basically, you're a real chauffeur is what you are. You're driving a limo for a rich person.
Right.
Yeah. So he finally just said, "I'm hanging it up and not doing this anymore."
I'll show you the trophy. I'm going to get the name of where that air show was up in. Wait a minute. I can't remember one now, but I'll show you.
Well, Dayton, Ohio used to have a big air show.
They awarded him a bowl, and this was at God darn, this thing needs cleaned up. But I'll have to show you. I'll have to read to you where this was at. But he won best exterior and interior award in here, and I'll have to find out where this was at. Okay, this was at Reading. The Reading Aviation Awards is where this was done. You ever heard of Reading, Pennsylvania?
I've heard of it. I'm not, but that's about the.
Okay, you got best interior, best exterior award, and that's what they give him.
Wow, that's a lot of work to polish out a Beech 18.
So,
Yeah.
first work just to polish an airplane, and I know you've heard of this stuff, but we used to polish that out when you go to Florida. You know how you get that aluminum will pick up all that salt. Dad would bring it back, and we'd end up going over it with. Pardon me?
Semichrome.
What's that?
Semichrome. That's aluminum polish.
Right. Well, we had used, when we get a scratch in the aluminum or you wanted to polish something out, we use some stuff called Metol. And it's a pasty stuff. You heard of it?
Oh, yeah.
They're real good. You know, I mean, it'll clean chrome up, it'll clean aluminum up, and it'll take all that oxidation off. But primarily what we always cleaned aluminum with, we just take car polish, put it on a wet sponge, and then go over the whole airplane and wipe it off. It would pick up a lot of that salt residue, and it also protect it. Then we'd use a hard polish, you know, paste wax on the boots. Them clean, keep the bugs that come off easier, you know.
Well, let's see how much this thing weighs. I'm gonna weigh the pieces and add them up. See how much paint I can put on it. $24.15. $24.15.
See, Howard, my dad was always a corporate pilot, but when he came here to Indiana and the Speedway and bought the airplane, Mr. Holman, he flew actually from him, but he was employed by the Indianapolis 500, the Speedway. So that was more of a private type deal arrangement for him, you know.
So I'm sure there'll be a little extra crap.
Sparky, did you ever come to the 500?
Nope.
Never been to any of the events there?
Nope.
This year they had Red Bull there. I didn't go, or last year in the fall they had the Red Bull air races. I went up on YouTube and watched some of the highlights from it.
1085.
And
$12.50.
back when I was a kid growing up, I used to race quarter midgets and go-karts. And I think my dad was trying to groom me into a race car driver back then. But it was, as a kid, I'd rather play baseball. I'd rather go out and play basketball. But I got into it, and I won my share of trophies, and I did real well at it.
Well, I got to be real frugal now. I'm at 36.65. So we'll say 37 ounces. Without any dope on it, without any paint. 36, 37, 38. It's going to be like 42 or 43 ounces.
So what number do you look for as a finished model with paint and everything complete?
I wanted to be under 40 ounces, but it's going to be around 42, I think.
What's the weight limitation when you go flying the nationals? Do they have a set weight on your airplane, right?
Yeah, but you'll never see an airplane that heavy.
Oh, really? They set it way up, huh?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. 5 pounds, or I don't know, maybe it's 10 pounds, right? I don't really know what it is. You won't never see an airplane that heavy.
I've always wanted to get up there to the nationals. I don't live that far from Muncie, so I'd like to get up there some year.
Hour and a half drive, maybe?
Hour and a half from here. Well, a little over, about 2 hours, 2.5 from here, because it's a little farther. You got to go around Indy and then up to the north.
Okay. So I'm stuck in, like I say, 40. I think Aldrich said this airplane flew best at 42, but I really wanted another 40. But it ain't gonna happen.
I was going to tell you, I found in Tower Hobbies, if you go to their website, yeah, they still do carry the Nobler control line, $119. All right, it's an ARF, you know.
I had one. I flew it about 5 flights, left it sitting in the corner and gave it away.
I think Top Flight made it, but there again, it was probably covered in monocoat, you know. And
Yep. I just have a real dislike for ARFs.
yeah, it seems like all the stuff is, all the RC stuff is nowadays that I've played with.
Well, let's clean it off and see if we're ready for paint.
See, nowadays everybody wants something they can fly, or it's what you call instant gratification. And we all want that, you know. And I don't know what the price of balsa wood's done. Maybe the kit prices of you know, for wood now is higher than it used to be. I know it's a lot higher than it was probably in the 50s and 60s when I flew control line. Because I don't use much balsa wood. So, what's your weather like down there in Texas today?
It's about 85 today.
85? Wow. Hey, I was going to ask you if you knew a guy, and I'll give you his name. He was a good friend of my dad's, and he was down around the Houston area. His name was Bill England. Does that name mean anything to you? England.
No, sir, it doesn't.
Okay. He was down there where they bought the Merlin 3. He was kind of over that outfit that sold that Merlin.
Did I tell you the story about this guy out of Texas? Let's see if I can. I built that shoestring for scale. So I got the end number off the tail. I think it's in here. Yeah, the end number. And this guy, George W. Cook, who lives in Austin, Texas, Travis County, zip code, blah, blah, blah. I tried getting a hold of him, and he's been dead a long time.
Well, yeah. I hope you don't get in touch with him then. That would be scary.
We're real warm here today. I've got about 64. I just looked in there. That's warm for around here this time of year.
Global warming, they can keep it up.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear that Lake Tahoe just got 850 million gallons of water? So the drought is kind of over in California.
Yeah.
They're getting hammered up there with water. So.
So Sparky, you just use simple Windex to clean it before painting?
Yeah.
You don't put any more alcohol in it, do you?
Nope. This ain't even Windex. This is generic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the generic is quite a bit less expensive.
But you can use windshield washer fluid for cars, and that's really inexpensive. $1 for a gallon. Same stuff.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Huh.
See, I think of everything. Same shit.
Did you tell me, Sparky, you had some time with RC? You
No,
flew some RC at one time. Never have?
no.
That might have been me. I've flown RC a lot.
Do you still have anything you fly or have anything lying around?
Well, I have quite a few airplanes. I have a 40% extra 330S, a 37% extra 300L,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of profiles, and then some little micro things. I don't fly as much as I used to, but I try to go out once a month on a
Right.
weekday and fly.
I've got a Andrews Aeromaster in the basement.
Yeah, those are
And
good airplanes.
you can't buy them anymore. Andrews doesn't make them anymore, but I've got it down there, and I got a Vico 61 on it.
Good combination.
Yeah. Good airplane, and they always flew well. Then I like the bipes. I like the way they fly.
Yeah.
They look good in the air too.
Yeah. Biplanes are a little different in that when you pull the throttle, they stop in a hurry.
Right.
They weigh that much?
No, it's the drag. You got all that extra wing. I mean, it's basically two airplanes that are flying. Just
And when
lots.
you land, it seems like they float forever.
They you never have a problem with too much power on short final with those.
Right.
Kind of like flying a Piper with a Hershey bar wing. You really can't have too much power because when you cut the power, it's going to squat. Whereas all your Bonanzas and stuff with that laminar flow wing that they have designed on it, they tend to take a lot more speed and they float a long ways.
Did you flown in a Bonanza any?
Yeah, the A36, the 33s, the 35s.
The V-tail?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Doctor Killer, they used to
Yeah,
call it.
that's what everybody, well, that's because you get a guy who only flies once every 6 weeks. And
Right.
he takes it into the clouds and he gets into a spiral. And those things will speed up.
Disoriented. They get disoriented, panic.
Yep.
I was reading that article about that, the 3 that were killed. They were from Oklahoma City. It happened about a year ago, and they were in an SR-20 down there at in Hobby. They went in. It looks like to me she stalled that airplane. You know, he had her in that pattern, and you know, and she might have got in some wake turbulence from those jets that were landing ahead of her and behind her. You know, you're getting in that wake, and it looks like maybe she might have stalled it.
Well, they normally bring you in on a different runway if you're in a single engine general aviation airplane.
Right.
So they have a different runway that they bring you in on. But she had no business landing at Hobby. She could have gone over to Ellington. She could have gone
Right.
to Houston Southwest. She could have gone to Pearland.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
There's 7 airports, all with equal access to the medical center, other than Hobby.
Right.
I think
There's one I looked at 6 miles from there. Was that one Ellington you were talking about 6 miles from?
Yep. but she just got in over her head. I mean, it was a perfectly clear day, and the only, I mean, her mistake is she was on her third attempt at the landing.
Right.
And so as she was coming into the runway, she was at the halfway point, and she was still at 800 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's so many things going on when you're landing at a big airport like that,
Right.
that you really have, you know, it's not a place for new pilots.
Right.
And it's really horribly sad. She probably stalled it, or it could have run out of fuel. She could have been low.
Well, that's what I want to think, because if you saw the video of it hitting that car on the Ace parking lot, it didn't, nothing caught fire. There was no fire.
Yeah.
So I bet, you know, that tank could have been pretty low.
Or completely full, because if there's no fire, it would explode into a big fireball. Or if there's no fuel, it would be a big explosion.
Yeah, normally that's true, pretty much all the time. And the other question was, all the Cirrus aircraft have the ballistic recovery chute. So
Right.
why she didn't, well, they said she did deploy it. She was too low when it got deployed.
Boy, she's lucky she didn't hit that propane tank. It was right. Looked like she kind of went around and tried to avoid that.
Yeah.
On the way in. So.
I've gone over that with my students multiple times, saying, you know, don't always try to prove that you're the hotshot pilot. You know, your life and everyone else's life is not worth that.
No.
Go to some place that, you know, you can handle the traffic and the ATC communications, because at Hobby, they're not, you know, they'll do their best to try to accommodate you, but after a while, and part of this, I think the controller probably should have said, hey, you really need to go over to Ellington. This is not the place for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not allowed to tell them that.
Right.
I mean, their job is to strictly try to get them on the ground, and if they insist on landing there. But after my second attempt, I went somewhere else. That was her third attempt when she crashed.
Right. I think any experienced pilot would have diverted, went over to that airport. Yeah. Then it wouldn't have been a wreck, crash like that.
Yeah. So it wasn't IMC. There wasn't any wind shear. It wasn't anything. It was just.
She wasn't very high time, and I noticed that she wasn't current in that airplane. You know, only what I wrote it down. She didn't have that many hours in it, so.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty, you know, that's a pretty good little. That's a quick little airplane. You know, it'll.
Yeah.
More of a higher performance than your 172s or little Cherokee or something. It's, you got to be thinking a little bit ahead with that one, don't you?
Yeah, and you're trying to do all of that when you're a low-time pilot, less than 200 hours, going into probably the 10th busiest airport in the U.S.
Right.
It's just it's not a mixture for success.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no need. That's an accident that really, it's like the John Kennedy accident. There's
Right.
no need for that accident to have ever happened. And there was no need for this accident to have happened. But hindsight's always 20/20.
Right. Yep. Well, my dad, being a flight instructor, you know, all his life, and had, you know, he was in World War, you know, taught cadets to fly at Hicksfield and all that, and always maintained his. But he'd always say, you get these guys that got all this money, and he had a lot of friends that were millionaires, you know, that wanted to buy airplanes, and he'd keep saying, well, and they'd call my dad, because my dad was well known around the airport, and they'd say, you got a few minutes, go up and go fly. Oh yeah, we'll go up and do some approaches and stuff. But I hear my dad say, they get these airplanes and they get in over their head, and that's what gets them killed. You know, I mean, they get something they can't. It's more for them than what they ought to be having. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
One of my dad's friends was a doctor, and he was coming into Lumpkin there one time, and he went down. You know, and he got into weather. You know, he was in IMC and just got disoriented. He had a IFR rating too.
Well, just because you have the rating doesn't, you can be current and not competent.
Right. You're right.
And the only thing I am current, but I am not competent now because I don't have any IFR students. When I was teaching it regularly, I was a good IFR pilot. But now it's been 2 years since I've had, or no, actually 3 since I've had any good hard IFR.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm current, not competent.
Right.
And this is from someone who's probably got 400 or 500 hours of actual IMC, which is a lot. I mean, you've got to work hard to get that much hours.
Right.
Well, there it is. It's ready to paint.
Ready to paint.
That's the final coat before paint.
So did you put, you were talking about sanding sealer the other day. Did you put that on the wing?
I don't know where these guys come with. I never use sanding sealer. I've never heard that before. You're like the third one that said that.
You got a video.
Where?
On YouTube, dude.
Yeah. Where I tried Brodak sanding sealer one time.
You said it's not too bad. I could recommend this.
No, I could not anymore.
I went out and ordered 2 gallons of it.
Oh yeah, good job.
Yeah.
That was on my shoestring. I'll never use sanding sealer again.
So what were its drawbacks?
Doesn't stick. The paint doesn't stick to it. It shrinks. It's no good.
Other than the fact that it's no good, it's a good product.
I shouldn't say that because it was given to me. See, John Brodak gave me the prototype kit. He gave me the dope, and he gave me the sanding sealer. So I figured, well, we'll try his products on his airplane. I won't use that again.
Yeah, I've had some experiences like that.
My what I have here in front of everybody is my method of finishing that I've come with over the last, well, I've been doing it this exact way for 25 years. But I try other stuff, but I always come back to this because this works. And it's no different than it was in the 50s. It's the same shit.
Howard, how far back do you go as far as control line when you started getting in this stuff?
1958.
58?
Mm-hmm.
68 for me.
Yeah.
I built a scientific L19 bird dog
Mm-hmm.
with a 049 baby.
Right.
Flew it in my neighbor's side yard till she ran me off.
You didn't have no little jumping beans?
I almost built a jumping beam, but it had a built-up wing. And the L19 bird dog had just a slab of balsa wood. So,
I probably had 100 little jumping beans. Satans.
and then I just sport flew for a while. And then a buddy of mine, I don't know if you remember him, Charlie Melanson, he was a rat race guy. So he taught me how to fly a rat, and then I became his rat race pilot, and I started flying combat. And I did that up until the early 70s. And then I got into RC, and I flew RC for a while.
What radio did you have back in the set? I had a pro line and an Orbit. That's 2 radios I had back.
I had a Craft single stick, and I had 2 Pro Line single sticks.
The Pro lines were, I had a 2-stick Pro line, but I liked my Pro line. I was flying in a contest, and my elevator stuck on one of those Pro line servos, and it was in that biplane, my Aeromaster.
Oh, gee, that's never good.
Well, I got it down, and it happened just on the approach to land it, and those started coming up. I was only about a foot above the ground at the best time, you know, because I'd done a bunch of maneuvers. But that servo, you know how the wipers went bad in those older servos. You don't have that trouble nowadays. You can buy these cheap servos, $10 servos, and they'll last you forever.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I don't have any of the cheap ones in my big airplane, so.
Yeah, I got an ugly stick down the basement too. I really liked the big one, and it was silk covered. Silk, pure silk on it.
Gosh, ugly stick.
DOS ugly stick. Yeah, and it was a good flyer. I like that plane.
What color are
What
you going to paint this snowboard?
That's going to take about 10 minutes of thought. I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about doing a white panel here, then backmasking maybe some sunbursts and checkerboards on the top, and the top half of the airplane red with white stripes, and it'll be a split there at top red, and on the bottom it'll be blue with a white divider and blue checkerboards on the bottom. I don't know. Like I say, it'll take me 10 or 15 minutes to figure something.
Did you ever stick one of those little cameras on it to see, just to play with it? You know, those little mini cameras they're all using on all the new, all your RC stuff. You can buy the little.
Yeah, I've never.
5.8.
No, I've
played
never
with that.
done any of that.
I know first-person view is big with these quadcopters now. You know,
Yeah.
flying FPV, and they race them. You know, they race them things now.
This little guy right here, that's a little quadcopter, and it's got a camera in it with a micro SD memory card.
Yep.
And I'll fly that around the house, and my wife gets mad and yells at me.
Yeah.
Chase the cats.
Well, we don't have any cats, but the dog likes to run after it.
I've got a Q500 unique in the other room. A Q500 4K. It's got the 4K camera on it, but it uses these big ass batteries. These right here.
Yeah.
The big batteries. And another thing, you know, I'm not real up on these lithium polymer batteries, but they say don't keep them charged and sitting around. Well, this one's been charged. Now I got one in the bedroom, my other spare, and it's got a little bulging to it. And I've got a balancing charger, which I balance the battery. But they say you should put them in a state of not full charge. So
Right.
I don't know. I hope I haven't ruined the battery.
Discharge it to 30%, and that'll keep it in a, you know, in a good way to go in the discharge state.
Right. Right.
I got all that. I got all the high dollar electric crap sitting down there.
Yeah.
20,
I know they
24
can.
volt power supply with a charger that I can do 6 batteries in about 15 minutes. I got them
Right.
Thunder Power 5-cell batteries, $100 a piece. I got 5 of those. I got all the human stuff. I got all that shit. I just.
What charger?
Not
What
a-
charger? What kind of a charger were you using? What brand was it?
Charger.
Remember? Okay, I got a high tech is what I use.
Charger. The iCharger 360. I need to call them guys and see if they're gonna sponsor their ad again. I got a lump there, but we're not gonna worry about it. Nobody will know.
Except all of us that are watching this feed.
What's that?
I said, I'll know because I'm watching.
You won't be able to know even if you're watching. You can't see it.
Wrapped in the fridge. It'd be a lot better if I had lettuce on it, but I didn't chop any lettuce.
No. Or those.
Use the tongs to put it in your. Okay.
Okay. I'll be right back. I'm not going to be gone, so don't shut me off. I'll be right back. I got to get something in the other room.
I put taco sauce on mine. Be a lot better with lettuce on it. Though.
I haven't had any lunch yet.
Well, Sparky, I went and bought one of those brushes, Simply Simmons.
Right?
That's a pretty good brush for $3.
Let me hold it up there again. That looks like the short. They have one with longer bristles. How long are those bristles?
Probably about an inch.
Yeah, that's the long one. Now, make sure you treat that brush.
What do
Take
you
all,
mean?
take all the paint off the handle and all the paint off the shank.
Okay.
If you don't, you'll regret it because you'll be doping along and little black specks will come off and the handle,
Got it.
the handle paint will come off in your hand. So what I do is I soak the handle in thinner and then wipe the paint off of the handle and do the same for the metal tang where it holds the bristles on.
Yeah.
Soak it in thinner, get all the paint off it. Then I run it in a sander or in a drill. I put the handle in a drill and then take sandpaper and sand it off. And the brush will end up looking like this.
Oh, okay.
Of course, then I drill a hole in it to hold it in the. I have a video on that as well, but that's a good brush.
It is. For $3, it's the best brush I've ever bought.
Hey, I might know something.
You've forgotten more about this than I know.
I think these companies that keep giving me I keep giving a plug to, like DC 540 and 3M Aqua Green and Simply Simmons and Tight, but they ought to be paying me.
They for sure should sponsor you.
Yeah.
I mean, so you didn't have to buy DC 540, you didn't have to buy brushes.
That'd be nice. I think the Dr. Pepper company should give me a sponsorship too, because I'm always showing I'm always showing their Dr. Pepper on stream.
Hey, all you got to do is ask. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, and the best thing is you get something other than no.
Yes, but wait, go on. Why do you guys want to? Well, I don't know, I might could come out under 40. That'd be so cool if I could.
What motor are you going to put in it?
This is going to be powered by an OS32F.
Oh, that's right. You told me the helicopter motor.
Right. It's a motor that'll surprise everybody.
Well, I had never used an LA25 here until about 5 years ago, and I was shocked at how much power the LA25 had. That was a very stout little motor.
Well, I sold my 32F in about 90, my other 32F that was in my sorcerer, about 95. Let me see, I'll pull that up and I'll show you that airplane. I'll share it with you. Let me see if I can find it. Let me, I'll just change cams here. All right, I guess you can still hear me. I don't know.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, give me a second. I'm going to pull up this. I'm going to pull up this picture, photo gallery.
The one thing I hate about getting old is my stomach's too big and my butt's too small. And what that does, it makes my pants fall off.
Yeah. Tighter rope.
Yeah. My wife says, buy smaller pants. I said, but then they're not comfortable.
I know I saw. I know I have this posted here somewhere, but I don't remember where. Let's see here. Front row. I don't think they're on the front row. Could be. Who knows? somebody always keeps taking credit for running a 32F, but I did it way, way, way before anybody else did.
Well, the first 32F I saw was a guy flying Warbird Combat, where we built airplanes that look like Mustangs or Jap Zeros or Corsairs and flew combat with them. And one guy had that helicopter motor, as we called it. And it was a good motor. It ran really well.
Let me walk over to my my desk and I'll see
Yeah.
if I got it on the desk. I'll be right back.
All right.
Baby in there with you? Baby in there? Why did you let it go?
Well, I know I don't have it in digital form, but I might have it in a snapshot here. Here's me and my, can you see this? That's me and my club brothers. Motorcycle. I got other motorcycle pictures. These are all motorcycle guys. There's an old picture. Hey, here's a picture of Art Aviation when he was young. When he was younger.
Holy cow. I guess that's why they called him Big Art.
Yeah.
You know what? Oh, that's unreal.
Is the chocolate sauce on that?
No, I don't want any of that. Yeah, I don't want that. Yeah.
I'd say it would have been better
Right.
if I had chopped some lettuce up, but I didn't mess with it. You're gonna have to clean that head of lettuce for me.
Howard, what radio do you have for your newer RC plane? What are you using?
I'm just using a JR, what is it, 9503?
Oh, okay.
I'll take pictures of the sorcerer, but I wanna see if I got an inside of the fuselage. You're gonna see a younger version of me.
How old were you?
I don't know.
Younger.
There's one that was. There's my airplane that was in a magazine. It's got the same motor in it, but that's it. Flying. There's getting wet though. These are all black and white photos, unfortunately.
Hey, black and white's good.
There's a Casal airplane from '87. Okay, there's a picture inside of that one.
Did you ever have a Jimmy Walker Firecat
No,
profile? I just wondered.
these are all dated old pictures. But you'll get to see how I did it. I should scan these and put them up. Ah, there we go. There There's a picture of a 32 in the nose. Okay. That's motorcycle stuff. Look at how big these guys are. That's me holding my colors out.
Jeez. That's some full-figured fellas there.
Yeah, big Mike standing there behind me to my left. I think he was 7 foot tall, and then Roy was 6'11".
Yep, that's some big guys.
Was that a motorcycle club you were in?
Yeah, there's a picture of my bike in Kansas when I was in Kansas. I put it out in front of the motel. Yeah, I'd like to get a colored picture of that setup.
I suppose you've been up to Milwaukee to the Harley factory up there, haven't you?
Considering that I work for Harley, yeah, I've been there. Okay, so let me give you a rundown on how the sorcerer works. This is a, let me get the pictures in order. That's a Viper Super Glide. This is Jimmy Cassell's airplane that I used to own from '87.
And what airplane is that?
The Spectrum. These next photos are black and white. All right. The first, let me turn this on so it doesn't go away. The first photo there, that's not me launching. That's Alan Brickhouse's friend. That's down visiting Alan. That's the sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
There I am in a younger, much younger.
That looks like what, in the late 60s?
No, later than that. I don't remember. Then there's that airplane. I ended up selling that airplane to Fox Manufacturing. And how the 32F worked in there was I had it in there at an angle.
Yeah.
Like I had a less nearing pipe on it, and the pipe went down underneath the airplane. That airplane worked real good. But I ran that 32 before anybody else did, but I don't get credit for it because I'm not a national flyer. There's my airplane that was in the I think it was 91. This airplane was below Paul Walker's airplane in model aviation, but that had a OS in it as well.
A 32?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And there it is, framed up. There it is, finished. And then
Very nice.
the 32 is like, I've been doing this a while.
Yeah, well, my airplanes didn't look that good when I was younger. They were functional and strong, but I didn't.
Did you ever have? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Howard.
No, I just said I never weighed anything. You know, I just built it, finished it, and flew it.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask Sparky if he ever had a Vico smoothie. I imagine he has.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There I am with some brothers there. Big guys.
You look like that gang looked like a rough bunch there, you know?
Nah.
Huh?
Yeah, it was different.
So you didn't go out and challenge the Hell's Angels, huh?
I know lots of them guys.
Yeah.
Why would I challenge them?
Did you ever go up there to what is it, North Dakota, where they have the big bike thing up there at
Sturgis? Yeah, I've been several times.
have you?
Yeah.
That's where we took that picture from the other night, right?
There's the Super Glide upside, or the Super Glide's upside down.
Hmm.
That's how the pipe setup was.
Yeah.
But I tried all kinds of stuff. When I was talking to Al, he said, you know, I'm a little concerned that you may not finish this Bearcat. I said, Al, I've never started a project in my life I haven't finished. Here's how bad it was. When I was a kid, I'm talking like 7 years old, my dad bought me a Gallows P40 stick and tissue model, one of them wind-up jobs.
Yeah, that's hard for a 7-year-old.
And we didn't have X-Acto knives then. We used straight edge razor blades we broke in half and buried into a matchbook cover, you know, the matchbook bottom. Yeah. And that wood was made of pine. So at 7 years old, I didn't finish that model. I just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
But later in life, I think I was 25. I bought one of those when I was in the Navy and built it in my dorm room and finished it out. So I ended up finishing that airplane too. It just bothered me. I have a penny collection. Anybody knows that the rare penny to find is the 1909 VDB.
Right.
And I could not sleep until I had that penny. I finally got one. But I have a nickel collection. Each hole had to be filled. I just could not stand it that it wasn't.
Yeah, I bet you had them little blue books like I've got. The little blue books with all.
Yeah, I got them. Yeah, I got them.
Yeah. What's a 1909 VDB penny worth now today?
I don't know. I have no clue.
I still find a lot of wheat pennies out circular. I got one the other day with change. The old wheat penny.
Right.
I haven't seen any steel pennies for many years. You know, the 44, 45 when those come out, the steel.
43, 44, 45, 3 years. Yeah, I got them.
Right.
From
Some of them are worth.
They ain't worth nothing.
They're not?
Nah. I think my penny collection is worth about maybe $100. Who knows?
Yeah.
I guess I could. Let's see what it's worth. A 1909. They used to be worth $100,000. Now I just don't believe it that they are now.
Yeah, you could have retired on that penny. You know what I used to have when I was a kid? I was and this was back in when the top the baseball card, Topps baseball cards. I used to have a complete collection. I had all the old guys, you know, and I had a backup collection of that and all that. When we moved from Cincinnati up here, my mom threw all that stuff out. And some of those cards I looked up were, oh, man, I made me sick to look up what they were worth. I would never had to work another day in my life.
I'm looking at Google, and the 1909 SVDB is worth anywhere between $749 and $7,000.
Depending on condition, yeah.
A penny.
Penny, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good return on your investment.
The trick is find somebody to buy it.
Yeah, well, that's the old saying. How much is something worth? How much is anyone willing to pay for it? That's how much it's worth.
Now here's a 1909 VDB dollars. A 1909 VDB $2.99. So
San Francisco, man, yeah.
Hey, that's still good return. A penny worth $3.
Yep.
yeah, but I just couldn't stand it that my penny collection didn't have all the pennies in it.
So you ultimately got it. How did you just buy it from someone, or
I traded?
traded for them.
That's what we did with baseball cards back in the day.
I used to have all the baseball cards that came in the bubble gum too.
Yeah, I did
bubble
too.
gum.
I remember that.
I had 3 or 4 shoebox fulls of them. And like I said, we moved from Cincinnati. We came over here to Terre Haute, and all that stuff got thrown out. And I know I had cards in there worth a lot of money. I could have retired. I wouldn't have had to work another day all my life. Some of them.
I had Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, Mickey Mantle, all them guys. From
I
that
did
era.
too. Yogi Berra, all of them.
Yeah, but they're all gone.
Yeah.
Long gone. Well, it turned out decent. Primer dried now. Still got a small spot there.
I don't know if I ought to keep these old engines I got or put them up on eBay and get rid of them. I don't have any use for them, but
What do you got?
Olson's, Atwoods, and Cyclones. You know, the old stuff.
Get a hold of them Mecca guys. They'll buy them from you.
Well, how do you spell that name? Mecca? M-E-C?
MECCA, model engine, something. I don't know. They'll be at Brodax. They usually have a big table there.
Well, I mean, can you Google them on the internet and get it so I can get a hold of them? Is that how I do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here.
I mean, some of these are ignition engines. You know, I got a couple of ignition engines with the Autolite spark plugs in the damn things down in the basement too. Dad used to race those cars on a tether, you know, on a wire. And tether car, right. And I think a couple of those engines were in those tether cars.
It's MECA, Model Collectors Association.
MECA?
Yep.
Okay.
Here's the link.
Must have that part of my screen disconnected. I don't see the link coming up. I don't know where it's at now. See it? Okay, yeah. All right. I'll save that link and look it up later.
And them guys will buy that stuff.
Right. Well, it don't do me any good. I could use it towards some other thing I do around here, you know, I mean. Did you ever have any of those old engines, Sparky?
I had a few.
Yeah.
Not interested in it though.
Those Olsons that are down there, they're 29s. And the Atwood and the Cyclones, I think those were 49s. Let's see. I haven't been down there. I usually lube them up, put a little bit of oil in them, you know, keep them smooth, and so they don't lock up. I just usually use Marvel. I use Marvel mystery oil in mine for years, and then they come out with all this new stuff. It's how these synthetic and had all that, you know, what do you call it, with the coating in it.
Transmission fluid, automatic ATF.
Yeah, you know what that's good for too? Your fuel injections in your car.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know that. You can take fuel inject and use it to clean your injectors out. Dad always did on his. Or you can pour it down your carburetor.
Or you can put it in your oil, pour it in your oil.
Right. Right. Yep.
You don't want to run it forever like that, but
No. My dad, you know, was connected with the Speedway, and I know you remember this stuff when STP came out. One day Andy Granatelli came out to the hangar, and Dad had a can of that sitting up on the bench. And Andy says to my dad, he says, "Hey," he says, "Lloyd," he says, "I see you got one of our good products sitting here." He said, "Yeah." And he says, "Ever since we've had it here," he says, "nobody's stolen a wrench since."
I was watching the '69 race when Parnelli Jones one, was a lap ahead in that Turbine car.
Right.
Sponsored by Andy Granatelli.
Right.
And I was watching it on closed circuit and at Ascot Park, or well, not Ascot, Gardena,
Uh-huh.
and in the theater with George Rivera, because in '68, I think it was 1968, I was standing right next to Don Branson and Dick Atkins when they got killed there at Ascot.
Oh, really? Huh. Huh.
Let's see what year that was.
So you did used to go to races back in the day, huh?
I ran a sprint car for a while.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Did you ever run across AJ or Johnny Rutherford, any of them guys? Those were all buddies of my dad.
God, I didn't realize it was that old. It was 1966 when I seen him go away.
Oh.
I saw Paul Jones do it. Parnelli's brother do an end over end flip down the whole front stretch of Ascot.
Wow.
You got out and walked away. Open wheel racing is a little different.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I used to race when I was, like I said, when I was a little kid growing up, I used to race those quarter midgets. And, a lot of that started out there on the West Coast. And a lot of your Indy drivers, they started out in them quarter midgets. And then I drove go-karts. And
I had them too. Mac 101Bs. Then Yamaha got involved and they went to a Sidewinder.
right.
My McCullough motor would run good though.
Mm-hmm.
I played with drag racing. I played with motorcycle, top alcohol drag racing.
Right.
Bill Hill, who was a pro mod guy, was a friend of mine. He died of brain cancer a few years back. He's the only other guy sponsored by Budweiser, besides Kenny Bernstein. We used to go over there and work on that car.
Right. Well, it's amazing what kind of speed they get out of those cars today, isn't it? Man.
I can remember I lived in West Covina, and we could hear Irwindale drag strip at night. And the cars, the top fuel cars were only running like 160. And I used to say, well, they'll never hit 200. And then they hit 200. Well, they ain't going any faster. Then they hit 300.
Well, it's the same thing as Indy. I can remember when some of the speeds back in the 60s, were in 160, 170, 65, 170. Now they're hitting, average speeds of 220, 218. But, they've toned them down a little bit due to the regulations they've imposed on them. And then they went more aerodynamic. If you look at an Indy car today, it looks like an airplane sitting there with the wings and the way all the downforce is creating to hold that thing on the ground.
It'll run on the ceiling if you could get it up there.
Sure, I think it would, yeah. But I still like the old days of the old roadsters, the Novis. Remember the Novi? And there wasn't anything that sounded any better than that old Novi coming down the backstretch.
That was an Offenhauser motor, wasn't it?
Well, Novi, I don't know. Was that Offie made those?
I think so.
I think they called it a Novi, right?
The motor though was an Offie.
An Offie, yeah, Offenhauser. Yeah. Yeah.
I think, but I used to love the Offies.
You want to hear a good engine. I know you don't really care for RC that well, but a lot of the top modelers use them. That are flying this big scale stuff. It's called a Moki, Moki,
I've seen them.
and that is one. I like the sound of that engine. And they got them. You can get them in a radial. They've got a sound all their own.
I had some guy give me a 4-stroke. I don't know who it was, but he gave me a Sato 80, So
Was that an RC or was that a one for U control?
RC. You know who that guy is, Howard?
Who?
The guy who gave me the Sato 80.
Yeah, some doofus from Texas.
Yeah.
You remember Wank?
If you want to hear
The Wank?
a great motor, there's a new engine manufacturer. I'm not sure where they're from, either Germany or Sweden, called Kolm, Kolm, and they make 4-stroke larger motors, and they're inline. By larger, I mean 200 to 300 cc, and God, they have a great sound. I think I got a video of one here.
You probably heard the Mokies though fly, haven't you?
Oh yeah, the Moki radials.
How much are them? I've never even priced one. I bet they're high.
Yeah, they're about 3,500.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the turbine jets fly?
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's a 310 cc Kolm inline 4 in a scale model of the Galloping Ghost. That is a fine sound. But they're a little pricey too. They're about 5,000. So, needless to say, I don't have any.
Only money, you got lots of it.
Yeah, that's way out of my pay grade.
Howard, what's your gasoline prices down there in Texas running right now? I'm just curious what you're paying.
About $2 a gallon.
Is it? I think it's about 213 here. It's been going up and down.
Yeah.
When I left Ohio, I filled up for $1.83. When I got to Missouri, it was $2.25 or whatever.
Yeah, we do all our grocery shopping at Kroger, and we last month we had a $1 discount per gallon, and the gas prices were like $1.98 or something like that. So I got gas for 98 cents a gallon.
I had about 1,000 gallons.
Yeah, they had 50, I think.
Come in here with your tanker. We're down to $1.96 now. I just looked at it here on Gas Buddy right now.
When I left there last week, it was $1.83.
Yeah.
What part of Ohio were you in?
Dayton.
Let me see what it is now. In Dayton. Dayton, Ohio right now is, you're looking at, let's see, $1.97.
Yeah, it's 2 1/4 here.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the lowest I ever paid for gas was 20 cents a gallon.
27 for me.
27. Yeah. Yep.
Used to be able to fill up my mini bike for a nickel and ride all weekend.
I used to have a VW Bug, and I used to run it on that Avgas 8087. Yeah, it run good on it too. You know, them Volkswagen engines were good, those 4-cylinder VWs. I mean, I had one, I put 114,000 miles on. It was an 86 or 66. And I put a header exhaust on mine. I did a few modifications to it, but it was sure a good car. I miss it. I wish I had it today.
You know, they're pretty quick too. If you got a 2180 with a few modifications, they'll run 10 seconds in a quarter.
Yeah, they can be quick. Yeah. What I've got now, my wife drives a Honda Accord. I've got a Toyota MR2. You remember Toyota when they come out with that mid-engine car? Yeah, it's an 86.
Yep.
And It's an 86, and if I tell you how many miles on it, you're going to say, "Oh, come on, get off of it." It's just got just turned 10,000. It don't get driven very much.
You don't even
Man.
wave to it every now and then. I mean, you got to at least go in and say hello.
You know, and of course I don't drive it. We drive her Honda, but I had it up on eBay. It's never seen wet pavement. It's all been Z-barded. Still spells new inside, you know. But it's a shame, and I wanted to get rid of it. And I thought, no, I'll keep it. I put it up on eBay and threw a wild price at it. I had a lot of lookers, but no bidders on it. So,
Well, a buddy of mine just sold his. Well, I know Sparky knows him, Richard Stubblefield.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he sold his Suburban. Actually, he gave it away. It was a 2000, and he had 380-something thousand miles on it. Bought a new Suburban for $78,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that's an expensive car, which is why I drive a 2009 Dodge Caravan.
My 2004 Saturn Vue, I just figured it out. It's coming up on 100,000 miles. So I've had it 13 years. I've driven it 7,600 miles a year, and it's like new. It's a great car.
Well, I've only got 120,000 on my Dodge, but it doesn't cost much to operate other than a new key for it costs $300.
I'd put a toggle switch on it before I paid $300.
That's retarded. Well, the best price I had was $280 for a key by a locksmith. The dealer wants $320.
What makes it so difficult? It's got a chip in it?
Yeah, it's a key fob. It's a 7-function key. So it's got the panic button, lock, unlock, left door, right door, auto start, and trunk.
electric window control and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
Put
do
a damn regular key in it and forget it.
Well, you got it still. I may do that. I'm gonna see if I can get just a chip key, because my key fob, every once in a while I'll put it in there and it says bad key. So,
What does the key look like? Is it a straight key with?
No, I don't have it here. It's inside.
Well, it doesn't matter. If it's a regular key, can you unlock the door with a regular key?
Yes.
Okay, well, get an ignition switch and have it keyed to that key and drill a hole in the dashboard and put an ignition switch in. I would not pay no $300 for a key.
Oh, I'm not going to. That's why my wife says, I'm not coming to get you if you get stuck somewhere.
How about the junkyard? You ever try a junkyard? See if you can find anything?
Nah, I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, might be able to find something.
I'll tell you what I did one time. Something went out, I can't remember, on my ignition switch on I had a 73 Dodge truck, 74 Dodge pickup. I just took an extension cord and I ran it to the solenoid and I brought the extension cord inside through the firewall. And here's the plug sticking up like this, and to start it, I just pushed the two things together.
Yep, short them together.
Yeah, it worked perfect.
Yeah, a friend of mine when I was a kid, we used to go over to they had a house and then they had a farm kind of thing, and they had a tractor, and that's the way they would start the tractor. They had this piece of brown extension cord, and they would short it against something that would operate the starter that would turn over the tractor motor. But you didn't have a key.
I bought my Saturn Vue service manuals. They were $150 on eBay, and they were like new when I bought them. But they're 2 phone books about that thick.
Jesus.
But I can do everything. So if something screws up in my car, I have all the tools. I can just fix it myself. The instructions are right there.
Yeah.
Not some claimer's BS manual, the factory manual.
Yeah, well, reminds me of Sam's PhotoFax.
Yeah,
It's ever done any electronics work.
I have. I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
They were mostly accurate.
Here's what my dad used to have right here.
Is that a Mercedes?
Jaguar.
Jaguar.
Oh, wow.
The E model.
A brother car. A
12
Jaguar.
cylinder. Yeah, that was it was a 55 model. Yeah. 2-seater, all aluminum body. I was up to 145 mile an hour in that car with him once we blew a head gasket.
I bet that
On the way to the airport. Yeah, on the way to the airport one morning. It had wire wheels. Look at how narrow those wheels were back in the day. That was taken out there at Lunken Airport there, sitting there right on the ramp out front of the Queen City flying up there.
I see a
Sitting right there
tricycle you're underneath it.
Yeah. Yep. All green, wood dash, 2 seats.
On those hard rubber tires, I bet 140 felt like 340.
Well, I'll tell you what, things were going by in that car, it seemed like.
Well, you're sitting on the ground, you got no suspension, you're on hard rubber tires,
Right.
probably Goodyear double eagles.
I think those had the old Dunlops on them, I want to say. But Dad didn't keep it long. He had it because so what something he wanted. He had a friend that his buddy was owned Lunkenheimer. The guy that owned the airport, the family had donated the property. They got the name Lunken Airport from Ebby Lunken. His family owned that, and Dad and Ebby Lunken were good friends. Ebby used to have a P-51 that he restored, and he painted that thing all white, and it had blue stripe on it. I got to see him fly it for the first time there at Lunken. I remember that airplane, beautiful plane.
I wonder how long this thing is streaming. Says I can stream 8 hours.
You mean they set a limit how long you can stream?
Yeah, 8 hours.
Who's it set by? YouTube?
Yeah.
Why do they put a limit?
Bandwidth.
Yeah,
Bandwidth.
Yep. You could get 10,000 people streaming constantly, and it could definitely slow down the data throughput for everyone else. So that's why they do a limit like that.
What kind of oh, go ahead.
I said we're not using that much. We've got 3 people attached through one of their many servers. And the streamer, which is Sparky, so that's 4. Well, actually, we only have 3 total. 2.
6. There's 6 watching.
Oh, okay. And you know that's using with all the compression techniques they use on the video to get it through voice over IP and everything. It's not using much bandwidth. Now, if you have 1,000 people looking, that's different.
Right.
Then the bandwidth being utilized is a lot. And if you could imagine 100,000 people with 2,000 viewers each, there would be more data usage than their systems could handle. So that's why they put limits like that. Every time you see someone viewing, they're occupying more of the bandwidth. The data has to come from somewhere. So think of it like a large water pipe, and you put 1 million people on an 8-inch pipe, or you put 100 people on an 8-inch pipe. Well, the 100 people are going to have a lot more pressure, better water pressure than 1 million people on an 8-inch pipe. So that's kind of what happened. It's the same concept.
What internet provider do you use down there where you're at?
I use Comcast or Xfinity. Comcast.
We got Time Warner here. I'm paying for the highest package they got. I'm getting 660 on the down and about 6 on the up. That's the best. But I've heard that this new outfit called Spectrum or whatever bought Time Warner out, and we should start seeing speeds up in the hundreds on the down and 200 or so on the up, and that's supposed to happen.
Sounds big, but that's only 10 meg.
Yeah, but it makes it sound big. But we're supposed to get major changes here, and they got fiber optic around here. I don't know if that would have to be fiber optic to the house or just the lines out here, but I think we've got fiber optic running around the neighborhood. So,
Well, they're going
I get
a gigabit here in some places, but divide that by 8 because, you know, each byte. So if you want to know what your megabyte throughput is, it'd be about 125 megabytes of throughput. But the gigabit does sound better.
Let me ask you this. Uh-oh, we got echo back. Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you guys think that we're using some type of alien technology?
we've got it, I think. Yeah, I do.
Do I want to believe that? Yes. Do I actually believe that? No.
You think that man in the last 100 years has come light years ahead all by himself?
You know, look at it this way. Ever since the Roswell incident, transistors came out shortly after that. Okay, there was a lot of technology that you're gradually seeing come forth, and it's stuff that, man, it's unbelievable, some of the stuff that's out there. But we still don't have the, you know, with the technology to get our cars lots of miles. We know why. It's all controlled. The technology's been around for a long time, but you know, we can cure a lot of diseases, but it's all about money. You know.
There's a guy who got disappeared that had an engine that ran on water, and I know that it worked. I saw it work.
Well, you can take hydrogen. My dad made a little hydrogen generator. I helped a friend of mine take his Ford. He's got a Ford, that big Ford pickup, or the SUV he drives.
Excursion.
Excursion or whatever. We put a bottle in there and made the hydrogen thing. Boosted the mileage up about 4 miles a gallon. About the best.
But there's a problem with that, and I'll tell you what it is, and you got to think about it. If we started running cars on water and we burn up all the water, there's only so much water. What happens then?
And we got another problem.
Right.
Yeah. But talking about, you know, a lot of people don't believe there's a possibility of other forms of life. Well, let me tell you something. My dad, when he was flying for the Holman family and all these people, well, down there, they used to go to all the blast offs down when it was Cape Kennedy down there. Well, he became friends with a guy named Stu Russo. He was a command module pilot. He also was friends of Jim Irwin, the astronaut. And you know, both of those guys told my dad at a dinner one night when they were sitting there talking. And Dad asked them, "Have you guys ever seen anything up on the moon or anything like that?" And both of them made the remarks they were followed to the moon by alien craft, and when they got to the moon on the dark side, they had bases set up there on the dark side of the moon where we can't see it, and had like little airports with their little ships sitting all around over there. Now that come from a good source. I can tell you that.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Whether we're sharing technology with them, I don't know, but I assume we are.
I'll tell you what. Believe that, but the practical side of me says no, it's not possible.
The what?
The you know, the logic, the educated side of me says no, it's not possible.
Well, let me ask you this, educated guy. When you look up at the stars at night, you can see 180 billion stars with your bare eye. With your bare eye, not with a telescope. And each star is similar to our sun. And around our sun, we have one planet. So what are the odds that somebody else is out there? It's pretty damn good.
It's, you know, it's a betting chance.
I'd bet on it.
My guess is if they were sophisticated enough to get this far to this planet, what in the world could they possibly want from us?
The only thing I can see is they're worried about our technology getting to a point where we could destroy ourselves and maybe do some other thing to the whole system. You know, we blow us up and maybe cause some other damage. You know.
Which is funny because I watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind again the other night. It was on TV, and that was an interesting movie.
You know,
Well, I tell you what, there's some movies on the internet that were taken this month already. I watched them the other day with a big high-powered telescope looking at the sun. There was a great big object
yeah, I
uh,
saw that.
behind the sun sucking the energy out of the sun. You think, well, what the hell are they doing? They need to refuel. So they're sucking energy off the sun.
Hey, have you ever heard of a guy called Stephen Greer? If you haven't, you need to watch some of his videos. Stephen Greer. Listen to him talk.
I'll look him up.
Stephen Greer. Yeah, he's got some good videos. And it talks about all this technology, this stuff that we're keeping back.
I'll tell you what. Now, this is where I got this idea from. We had this discussion going on. Now, this goes all the way back. I can't remember the guy's name, but he lives in Florida. It's something about the zeitgeist or, some nonsense like that. But the guy is the guy. This guy worked for Boeing, and he worked for Boeing without a college education. And he's the guy who designed the little tiny wings on the tires. Those airplanes would come down and they started wearing out tires. The wheel wouldn't be turning. The airplane would hit and they put a flat spot on it. So he put little wings on the tires to get the tires rotating before they touch down. Well, you think, well, that's no big deal. Pretty soon he comes out with this guy's brilliant, and he's about 90 years old. He comes out with the idea of taking fiber optics and he bundles them together really tight, and he runs tape around them to block out all the sunlight, chops off the top, chops off the bottom, and polishes it, and it makes a magnifying glass that you've never seen before. You can see the hair on a gnat's ass with this thing. It's unbelievable. And all this shit, he says, was given to him by some guy from outer space.
Technology.
Yeah.
Well, the part of me that loves all that kind of stuff wants to believe it's true, but the practical side of me, the part, the educated side of me says that's not possible. It's slightly probable, but genuinely probably not possible. However, that doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's what my brain says. My emotions say that'd be cool if it was.
A lot of people think we never went to the moon.
Yeah, I totally believe we did that.
I do too.
Well, I tell you what, we're not going to get to a star on a spaceship, period.
No.
It takes too long. The distance is too far.
Yep.
However, that thing that they're making at CERN to open up, they're I don't know exactly how it works because I'm not a nuclear scientist or physicist or whatever the hell's going on over there. But I think that if they can warp space-time continuum, open a door up and jump from one place to another.
A porthole. Yeah, open up a porthole. Yeah. Did you ever read about the Montauk project where they went back in time, and they took that ship and they went back? You need to look at that. That's, a lot of people say that never happened.
Well, Hitler was working on this thing called the Glocke.
Yeah.
Time travel thing. Where did that come from?
They had a whole crew that was out in one of the African deserts looking for it and trying to figure out where it was, and could they find proof of its existence? There was some Discovery or one of the science TV channels going through all of that. It was really interesting. That would be cool if that could be true. Because I definitely go back and buy a whole lot of Microsoft stock back in 1982.
Yeah.
And then I would hold on to it till today, and then I would sell it.
Or get some good lottery numbers back then, so you know what they were going to be for.
Yeah.
I think the stock would be worth more.
Well, I know this. When I used to teach at a little small community college, and when I was doing that, they had the state education fund was going to allow us to transfer what we had in our state retirement accounts into IPO. And the company that came in was Microsoft. And so everybody at the school, because computers were relatively new, looked at me and said, "You think we should do that?" And I said, "You think some guy, some geek living in Albuquerque is going to outsmart IBM?" And we all had a good laugh and went on our merry way. Otherwise, I might own a couple of Beach 18s today.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I wasn't smart enough.
What did you teach back then when you was teaching?
Oh, introduction to computers, back when digital systems were just coming on board. This was from 81 through 87. So
where do you think right now with the technology we've got, with the processors we've got, the video cards we're seeing, all this stuff, where do you think in another 10 years we'll be?
We're already 50 years behind. The government already has shit like that.
Right. They've already got it. But I mean, where are we going to be at home with our stuff we've got here?
Holograms, and we'll probably be in 1984.
Yeah. Orson Welles would be proud of us.
Yeah.
Catch up. Yeah.
It's hard to guess. It depends on, everything is driven by what you can sell. And marketing tries to create a demand for what you can produce.
Right.
So what consumers want versus what you produce, and marketing departments try to do what? They try to take what you're capable of producing now and generate demand. And if they can do that, there's no telling. I mean, I think 3D may become useful. It's very useful in flight training. They have
these flight simulators. I built a flight simulator. I've got one in my room. I got the rudder pedals, the yoke. I got all that, and I fly. I had Microsoft Flight Simulator. Microsoft doesn't make that software anymore. They have what do they call it? They sold that stuff to somebody else now, and it's under another name. But I saw, and I had the graphics card I had was good. It was a GeForce at the time. That when they're in the bedroom that I made was it's probably 8-9 years old now. But the stuff they've got today, you got wraparound screens now. I got a friend of mine that built his whole simulator. He's got one.
Yeah.
It's not motion, but it's just like being there. Mine was I thought like being there.
I'll tell you what. I watched a movie at Wright-Patterson on the Navy, and their 3D theater, put on the glasses. Terrible. Terrible.
Well, yeah, you're wearing those goofy looking glasses with red, green, and blue lens, and that gives me vertigo because it's not real. But I think if you get some capabilities built into these VR headsets like we have.
They have holograms now. They can project holograms.
Yeah, they can. They can. I'm still waiting for Brundlefly to exist.
Go on YouTube and look at the inventions that these guys are coming up, with hoverboards.
Yeah.
That was right out of the, Back to the Future. And they got them. You got them. I watch them on YouTube, hoverboard.
I've seen them, and also the magnetic trains.
One-wheel motorcycles.
Yeah, the levitating trains.
Yep.
Levitation. Yeah, they're right above the track. Yeah.
Yep. I knew that would work back in the early 70s, and I'll tell you why. My dad had a pool store, and I used to go back there and play with the motors out there, and I cut open the armature, or the casing, and flattened it out and made a levitation thing. So I knew that would work back in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, it works with disk drives on a smaller scale. The old, not solid state drives, just regular, what they call rotating rust. The rotating hard drives, I mean, the magnets in there are extremely strong, rare earth magnets. So if you get enough of those, you can pretty well get something floating. It's almost no resistance at all. It moves.
That's probably that's how the UFOs fly.
Well, there's got to be
gravity. They're using gravity to run their machines. Imagine.
Yeah.
We've got that technology, I'm sure.
Yeah, but as I said, we're not going to another planet in any machine.
No.
It'll either be time travel or you know, some way like that. Yeah.
Even getting to Mars will take too long.
Not in our lifetime. We never make it.
A couple of
Probably.
years is a long time to be in space.
Yeah, and the wear and tear on the body to get there. So, yeah. But yet we can't get a car to get 100 miles a gallon. We don't see it.
Well, electric cars is no good.
No. Well, your Hondas and your Toyotas, you know, that had they had the electric and drive, and they had the gas, you know, and then one charges the other one. And my sister had one. She gets 50 some miles, 55 with hers, you know. But that, you know, those batteries got a period of time. They only good for so long. Then you got to replace them, and they're expensive to replace them batteries.
Especially when they come
And
from China.
Yeah, sure.
They only last a week.
But battery technology is getting better, you know, all along. I mean, look where we are with these things here. Look what we're getting out of these. They're heavy. And this is a 5400 milliamp battery, 3-cell, you know. This will give me about 20 minutes flight time on my quadcopter, spinning four rotors, you know, with 10-inch props. So
Well,
that's if I turn the camera on, you know, we're going to use more.
I use those Thunder Power batteries. They're $100 a piece. They only weigh 10 ounces.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are $100 a piece, those. But you can go online and get them cheaper. But like I said, look where batteries come, where the technology, where we're going with that. You know, we started out with NiCads. I used to use NiCads. You did too. Well, you can still buy NiCads.
Well, this is a battery I run in Bill's old Crossfire. That's a zippy 3,000 milliamp, and it weighs 13.95 ounces.
That's one of the batteries that we blew up.
Yeah. The real advantage of this battery is it's $23 each. And so I can buy 4 or 5 for the cost of one Thunder Power. So let's say only 2 of them, 2 of them are good out of the 5. That's still less money than I spent on the Thunder Power.
Did you get that battery from Bill?
No, I bought this battery from Hobby King or something like that. Let me see.
Hobby King.
My hand hasn't been on it then.
Well,
How do you store your batteries, Howard? You put them in a metal box, keep them so in case they have thermal runaway?
No, I should, but I don't. No. They just sit out, and I have
They've been known to start fires, especially under charge. You know, they'll heat up.
This one doesn't heat up at all when I charge it. I have a balancing charger in it.
A lot. You know, if you do, you got a bad cell somewhere.
Yeah, well, this one has a bad cell.
Oh, does it? Is it got you got any puffing in it?
No, none whatsoever.
Right.
It just has one cell that will only charge to 70% capacity. So I've got 4 other cells that charge at 95% capacity, and one at 70. So it's still functional, but only for you know, a few.
And you balance charge your batteries like you're supposed to, right?
Yes.
Right. What kind of charger do you use?
It's called an X drive. It has 4 outputs. It'll handle up to 4
batteries
at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a high tech. It just charges 2 at a time, but
I've got a Trip Light 15 amp. It's running 4 batteries at 3 amps. Really taxes that little Trip Light DC power supply. But I bought that Trip Light, goodness, back in 1980.
I'll show you my power supply and charger. I'll get it.
whose dog's bark? Is that yours?
Yeah, she's barking at a squirrel, maybe.
Yeah.
She loves to chase squirrels. Oh, come in.
We were always dog people, and then when I married my wife, we ended up buying a cat. Now we got 5 of them.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Here's my charger that I use. It's an iCharger.
I've seen those, yeah.
And I can charge 6 batteries at a time.
Oh, wow.
And I'll show you the power supply I drive it with. This is a homemade power supply that I made. It's a computer,
Yeah.
and it's 18 or 24 volts.
Yep. They get an HP server power supply for about 50 or 60 bucks. And
This here cost $80 to build.
they'll put out, most of those guys are up to like 100 amps.
It'll charge batteries in about or 5 or 6 batteries in 15 minutes.
Not too shabby.
I got to update my computer system here. I've got a Dell here, and it's about 7 years old. It's got Vista Home in it, and I see Vista.
Oh, Vista.
Doesn't support Vista anymore. So, and I run ABAS for the antivirus, but I also see that Microsoft's not going to support that. What do you call it? That security system they use, Essential. They're not going to support it anymore. Coming up in about a month or two, they'll drop that. But I don't use Essential. But a friend of mine.
Here's the batteries.
Oh, 25C.
700. Okay, yeah, that
10 ounce.
Yeah, that's because it's a 2700 pack.
Right.
That reduces the weight.
In my little helicopters, I run those little ones in there. I got the little wafer small ones in the back there. Yeah, my little heli. Yeah.
I may try some of those 2700s. The problem is with Bill's airplane, the first time I flew it, I couldn't get it to turn. And so he had 3 ounces of weight in the nose. So I ground all of that out. So it started turning.
And it won't groove.
Yeah, it hunts a little bit now. So if it's one of those, it's so heavy that I don't hold out a lot of hope. But it's not something I would fly at a contest. It's something to teach me how to do all this.
That's my biggest gripe with electric airplanes. They don't groove. And I can't figure out how to make it groove.
Well, you really think that's the airplane, or is that I think it's not the power system. I think it's the airplane. I mean, nope. Why would it be the power system?
Well, I built 6 airplanes, and all 6 of them hunted. And I tried all the tricks I knew to get them to hunt. Now it's not bad,
level flight. It does this. It constantly.
Right, they all do it. Even Paul Walker's. He says it doesn't, but I can see that it does.
Yeah, it's worse inverted than it is right side up. And that could just be my lack of stability in flying inverted. But
now, Brett Buck seems to think it's the way the power is delivered, because it's delivered at a constant speed. There's something going on there. I don't know. I'm not a rocket scientist.
Not either.
I just know that a IC engine, when you turn it upside down and lock it in, it just locks right straight in. Where these airplanes, doesn't matter how nose heavy you make it either. They can't find its spot. I don't know what.
Yeah. Well, I'm from an old enough school to know what a good engine run sounds like, and there's nothing that beats it. The electrics are very consistent. You don't have to worry about setting the needle. You just have to worry about monitoring your batteries. But other than that, or the timer could fail. I had a timer fail, but I replaced the chip in it, and that solved that problem.
I'll tell you what, the way I set my Super Tiger 60s up, or my PA 75s up, I can go anywhere, and I will not have to adjust that needle valve. I don't have to do it,
Set and forget, huh?
Yeah, flip and go. And they start the first flip. What the heck?
What are you using? Well, how much nitro do you use in your alcohol? What are you using?
10%.
How much? 10%?
Yeah. I use Sig Champion fuel, which is 20% oil. It's got 10% clots and 10% castor and 10% nitro, and the rest of it's alcohol. And it works every time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I remember running the old caster, that old gooey ass caster we used to have in that old fuel that we used to fly. Then they went to the synthetic stuff. Castor was all right. There wasn't anything wrong with castor oil, you know.
It's nasty.
It's nasty, and if you look at how the deposits are leaving your engine, you know.
Yeah, that's the main thing I hate about caster.
Yeah.
But
Tear one
Stunt,
down.
yeah, Stunt's a different animal. But, you know, in combat and stuff, we never ran caster. We always ran synthetic. So
How much nitro did you burn? What was your percentage of nitro?
yeah, in F2D it's 10%, and if you're flying in an F2D contest, you run 20% caster. You don't have an option because that's what the rules say. But in old AMA combat, we would run 30, 40, 50% nitro and 20 to 22% synthetic.
Right.
Which of the eye chargers did you have? Was that a 306 or a 308?
I think it's 306.
306, okay.
B.
Yep, I see it here at Progressive RC.
Yep.
I've had good luck dealing with those guys. They make some cool little accessories and stuff.
They used to be a sponsor on Stunt Hanger. I think I should call them up and see if they want to renew.
Well, I know I like their customer service in the RC area is exemplary. I've dealt with a lot of companies, but I've bought probably 10 or 15 items from them, and they're flawless in their customer service. If you got a question, they'll answer it. They'll call you to find out an answer if it worked right and everything. So really pleased with them as a company.
Well, guys, I think I'm going to get off of here. We've been on here about 3-4 hours. I don't know.
All righty.
Burn up enough bandwidth, have we?
Yep.
All right.
We'll talk to you later. See ya.
Wednesday night.
All right. See you, Howard.
All right.
Sparky.
See you.
Bye.